Bai Shifeng sneered coldly. Then let's see just how capable you all really are. Desire for death? Then I can only fulfill your wish. Attack. First, 4 cultivators attacked together. Among them, 3 were at mid-stage foundation establishment, and 1 was at the late stage of foundation establishment. The elderly man with a single arm held a willow branch in his left hand, waving it like a divine dragon's tail, imbued with overwhelmingly sharp sword chi. Even as he faced 4 opponents, there was no sign of defeat in the short term. During the battle, he deliberately caused a great commotion, clearly wanting to attract others' attention to the ruckus. The demon cultivators attacking him could not be exposed to the light, and if discovered by the acclaimed sects within the restricted area, it would bring greater trouble. After 5 or 6 rounds without achieving their aim, 2 more late-stage foundation establishment cultivators, hidden in the shadows, could no longer hold back and joined the fray, seizing the opportunity. They too were disguised, wearing masks made from special materials to hide their identities. But in truth, it was of no use, because their life-bound magical artifacts and spiritual pets were far too conspicuous. One controlled a golden blade over a yard long, while the other rode a spirit beast Zou of the profound body realm, wielding an azure dragon crescent blade emitting a glow of purple and gold. They were unmistakably the city lord of Ronghua City, Jiangshang, and the 8th Prince Zhao Sun of Song Dynasty's Beiyang province. They attacked the elderly man with a single arm fiercely, one from the left and one from the right. Already struggling, Bai Shifeng suddenly found himself facing 2 more opponents of the same realm, and despite his formidable martial arts prowess, he had some difficulty holding them off. Old fool! Face your death! The 8th Prince Zhao Sun descended from above on his mount, the azure dragon crescent blade seemingly descending from beyond the heavens. Bai Shifeng, overwhelmed, hastily used a talisman to unfold a defensive barrier behind him. Boom! The azure dragon crescent blade crashed down. The defensive barrier shattered into countless pieces, and Bai Shifeng spewed out a mouthful of fresh blood before losing balance and being hurled into the waters of Night Spring Pond, sending up waves over a yard high. Cough, cough, cough. Sopping wet, the one-armed old man staggered up from the edge of the pond, looked at the crowd surrounding him once more, and said scoffingly, Zhao Laoba, Jiangshang, you indeed collude with the 7-kill sect. Aren't you afraid the upper sect will find out? My Song Dynasty's court needs to explain to no one about who we ally with. Zhao Sun, holding his long blade, squinted and said, Last chance, hand over the item, and we can both be happy, avoiding a fight to the death. Zhao Laoba, the one-armed old man, after catching his breath slightly, straightened up, his voice turning sharply menacing. Have you ever thought, why would I come here alone, knowing it was you who deliberately spread the news? What did you say? Zhao Sun's heart tightened inexplicably, and the Zou beneath him seemed to sense danger, becoming restless and uneasy. Beware! The demon cultivator leader shouted loudly. Behold! The one-armed old man tossed aside the now tattered willow branch and reached towards the storage bag at his waist. In an instant, a storm surged wildly. Dark power burst forth from the Bai family ancestor at the center, uprooting the vegetation along with the pond water and hurling it violently in all directions. Upon closer inspection, it was a 3-foot-long brown wooden sword with hardly any traces of refining, its simplicity resembling a toy in the hands of a village child. Yet it contained an extremely terrifying power, detectable even from dozens of paces away. 10,000-year divine willow? Chao Dongjun, the hall master of the 7-kill sect, with keen eyes, recognized it, and astonishment crept across his face beneath the mask. The divine willow. It's an exceptional material of wind and thunder attributes, not only incredibly powerful when forged into a magic artifact, but also capable of harming divine sense. Anything that can target divine sense is always a rare commodity. The divine willow is no exception. With just 500 years, it can be used to craft a second-tier mid-grade magic device, 1,000 years for second-tier top-grade, and beyond 3,000 years it can create a lower-grade magical treasure for core formation cultivators. If it's over 10,000 years, Even a magical treasure made from it would make even core formation cultivators retreat. And at this moment, the wooden sword Bai Shifeng took out was made from the divine willow. Well then, Zhao Sun's eyes shone brightly under his mask. Is this something nurtured by the ancient treasure? Bai Shifeng, does the Bai family really have to squander such a thing? Do you know what virtue unworthy of the thing means? Well said. Bai Shifeng, hair and beard flying, wielded the thunderbolt sword made from the divine willow and floated into the air, speaking word by word, voice like thunder. I too recently realized this issue, so I've prepared to offer it to someone, but unfortunately, it's not you. You wish. The eighth prince roared with blood-red eyes. Don't be afraid, everyone. Even with the 10,000-year divine willow, with his crippled body and realm, it's impossible for him to harness the true power of the magical treasure. At most, he can only rely on the inherent power of the divine willow to attack. No matter what magical treasure, it requires someone to wield it to exert the true power. It does not mean that an ancient relic in the hands of a 3-year-old child allows the child to battle an immortal. It similarly requires a cultivator with the corresponding realm to wield it. But likewise, even a 3-year-old child wielding a piece of scrap metal and a divine weapon cannot be compared in terms of destructive power. Chun Sansi gently lowered the raised Z-lay bow. Perhaps I don't need to help after all. Moreover, he looked at the heavenly materials and earthly treasures before him, wanting to cultivate them for 10,000 years. It seems he would need to consume the entire half-bottle of divine wood spirit liquid he had seen previously. But time is absolutely insufficient. Even if it's accelerated growth, it takes time. Otherwise, the Bai family members wouldn't need internal assessments every few years to exchange qualifications for opening Scenic God. Either, in that case, they previously consumed the other half of the spirit liquid entirely to cultivate Shock God Willow Wood, which doesn't make sense either. If that were the case, where would the Bai family's resources come from over the years? Two possibilities. Firstly, the Bai family secretly has a large amount of 9-colored divine wood spirit liquid. Secondly, it's Chun Sansi's prior judgment. The Bai family has been hiding something that's not divine wood spirit liquid, but something else, which coincidentally can also cultivate heavenly materials and earthly treasures, having a similar effect to spirit liquid. Combining dialogues and observations, it's clearly more likely to be the latter. What the Bai family said, preparing to present the treasure to someone, is probably referring to the Qingshu sect. Chun Sansi didn't act rashly and continued to observe secretly. Bai Shifeng raised the thunder sword high, resembling a divine willow growing for 10,000 years unfolding above his head. Each willow branch emitted azure spirit light, dancing wildly with the storm, looking like dense thunder rolling. His one arm sliced down with the sword, and thousands of transformed thunder rolled down. Boom! How could Zhao Sun and the others dare to take it head-on? They displayed their strongest escape techniques to scatter in various directions. But even so, they couldn't entirely avoid the impact. In the sweep of the storm, Jiang Shang spun like a top in the air, flying backward for hundreds of feet, before barely stabilizing himself by embedding the more than 10-foot golden blade into the ground. Under the 8th Prince Zhao Sun, the Zhou immediately died violently under several thunderbolts containing storm, while he himself spewed a mist of blood, crashing onto the broken stone tablet of Night Spring Pond, and couldn't stand up for a long time. The Hall Master of the 7-Kill sect, Chao Dongjun, managed to prevent injury by presenting several defensive magical artifacts, but didn't dare to approach rashly. Additionally, 2 early-stage Foundation establishment demon cultivators died on the spot. Bones of the grave. Zhao Sun's face twisted fiercely, forcing himself to climb up and wipe the blood off his mouth with his sleeve. Everyone, don't panic. Use formation to stall him. He won't last long. Array Initiate. Blood-red iron chains emerged from the ground, flying like venomous snakes towards the one-armed old man. Under the night sky, the thunder sword swung, and within the storm, azure thunder, wherever it passed, destroyed all evil. The second-tier array couldn't harm Bai Shifeng, who wielded the divine willow of 10,000 years. But he himself was a flickering candle in the wind, How could he sustain long-term driving of magical treasure? With every swing of the thunder sword, the speed of the one-armed old man visibly slowed down, needing to take elixir pills and breathe heavily each time after his moves later on. Even so, no one could get close. Bai Shifeng, Zhao Sun shouted fiercely. You've used heavenly materials and earthly treasures to extend your life multiple times. Your lifespan has long reached the limit, and today you're heavily injured. How much longer can you live? What are you still holding on to? Even if you leave with the golden clay sculpture, you absolutely can't achieve a golden body. Old Zhao, don't be anxious. Before I die, I'll take you with me. Ah! Bai Shifeng roared to the sky, consumed essence blood again to drive the 10,000 years thunder sword, thrusting a sword towards the heavenly dome like Kong Jinlong soaring to the sky. Boom! After a ground-shaking tremor, the formation arranged by demon cultivators in advance also created a huge gap, unable to trap people anymore. The wind-breathing technique is a rare martial arts technique that can fly in the true power realm. Bai Shifeng stepped on the thunderbolt sword, almost turning into a bolt of lightning, disappearing in the blink of an eye, vanishing without a trace. All disturbances abruptly stopped. Around Night Spring Pond, only remnants of broken wood, corpses, and destroyed magical artifacts were left. People didn't pursue further. Hiss! The 8th Prince Zhao Sun clutched his chest, taking deep breaths, trembling as he sat down on the ground, started recuperating by consuming elixir pills. Jiang Shang snorted coldly. This old undead indeed had an ace in his hand. Luckily, Master Chao had prepared a chain of strategies. Next, it should be foolproof. Chao Dongjun folded his hands behind his back, just stared in the direction the old man left, without saying a word. Hee. Zhao Sun reopened his eyes, sneered. Bai Shifeng never dreamed. We knew all along that we couldn't keep him. Intentionally let him go. With this departure, the grand plan is already half achieved. Yes, Jiang Shang said angrily. If it weren't for those fools from the Shangyun sect suddenly running to Beiyang, things wouldn't be so troublesome. Going round and round. In the end, it's just to hold back Shizhongzi. Someone's coming. Chao Dongjun looked into the distance and said, The plan is complete. It's not safe to stay here any longer. Let's go. Buzz. Various flying artifacts appeared, and everyone left one after another. Deliberate. Chun Sansi caught key information from bits and pieces. These people, they actually deliberately handed the golden earth clay to the Bai family ancestor. Could it be that there's something wrong with the golden earth clay? Chun Sansi suddenly recalled that the appearance of the golden earth clay was because the demon cultivators used a special item as bait to lure it out. This indicates that this group is very familiar with the golden earth clay and likely tampered with it in advance. He had no evidence for this suspicion, but once he went back, he could at least warn the Bai family to be cautious. Chun Sansi no longer stayed in hiding, used the earth tunneling talisman to leave the area, and then disguised himself as a loose cultivator watching the excitement, heading back to Night Spring Pond. The commotion just now was quite large, at least dozens of people were gathering around. What's going on? It must be that another treasure has appeared. Chun Sansi had changed his appearance in advance, so he didn't worry about being exposed, deliberately approaching ahead, wanting to see if he could encounter a few sect disciples. The main resources he needed to collect he had finished gathering, and next it was time to deal with the matters related to the Guiyuan sect. Sure enough, disciples from the Shangyun sect, Guiyuan sect, and a few other sects arrived one after another, expressing their amazement in unison. Last time, a demon locust tree heart appeared near here. I suppose just now another third-rank treasure has appeared. We came too late. Knowing this, we shouldn't have left after searching during the day. Right, Brother Wang Jun? Senior brother is right. Wang Jun answered respectfully. But if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If not, then it's our fate. We shouldn't be upset over this. There are many unexplored areas in the secret realm. There are sure to be more treasures. Makes sense. Zhang Jincheng nodded. In that case, let's hurry. The stray dogs of Guiyuan sect act quickly. They've already gathered many good things this time. Let's not let them outpace us again. Not long after the Shangyun sect disciples left, it was Spirit Silence Cave and Guiyuan sect's turn. To assert their identities and ensure safety, these people wore special sect battle robes, making them easy to identify. Senior brother Lu Feng, look, when we came during the day, the pond's water was clearly dried up. How come at night it turns like this? Seems like we've missed the treasure. Lu Feng shook his head and sighed. Then forget it. Fellow disciple said, let's go join senior brother Su and brother Qin. All right. The two Guiyuan sect disciples chose to leave as well. Chun Sansi followed quietly from behind, hoping to trace back to the main force of the Guiyuan sect. After walking a few miles, a sandstorm equivalent to a first-tier array suddenly kicked up within the forbidden area. Occurrences like this happen from time to time within the forbidden area. Taking this opportunity, Lu Feng suddenly changed direction, quietly separating from his fellow disciples, and went alone to the entrance of a cave 100 feet away, bending to pluck a spirit plant with an age of 800 years. Finally got it. Glad he didn't see it. These sect disciples, under the sect's protection, naturally paid a price. All treasures obtained in the secret realm need to be taxed according to a certain percentage, and even directly reclaimed. This Guiyuan sect disciple, named Lu Feng, clearly intended to pocket some spirit plants for himself. Not missing the opportunity, Chun Sansi stood a mile away, drew a bow and strung a flying sword. The bowstring released, and the flying sword penetrated the cultivator's throat with precision. True power ravaging, destroying life force. He didn't even have time to cry out before falling to the ground. Life snuffed out. He walked forward, altering his face to match that of Lu Feng. Disguised as Lu Feng, wearing his clothes, finally burning the corpse to ashes. Chun Sansi burrowed into the sandstorm, and soon found another Guiyuan sect disciple at the fork in the road. Senior brother Lu? The disciple was shielded by a boundary against the sandstorm and squinted his eyes, saying, I thought you got lost. Almost. Chun Sansi didn't say much. Let's not waste time. Let's quickly join senior brother Su and the others. The disciple continued with sword flight. Chun Sansi followed closely behind. About half an incense stick later, they landed halfway up a densely vegetated mountain and, after passing through a grove, arrived at a cave. Guiyuan sect's disciples were all gathered here. Everyone seemed to be discussing something. Noticing someone approaching, Chen Qiren instinctively looked over, then casually smiled and said, It's you guys? How's it over there? Any updates? Don't even mention it. The fellow disciple said, Later on, we heard it might be that golden spirit clay had appeared, but we don't know who had already taken it. Treasures everywhere. Chen Qiren sighed. Since everyone is here, let's not waste any more time and head directly to the treasure site. Treasure site? Chun Sansi quietly followed at the back of the group. It seems this group knows more about the second restricted area. Tagging along might yield more discoveries. It's definitely worthwhile. His infiltration was highly successful. Not a single person realized that the senior brother Lu Feng had already been swapped. As of now, both Chen Qiren and Cui Zhichen had successfully reached foundation establishment. The latter even reached mid-stage foundation establishment. During his early cultivation, Chun Sansi was affected too much, making his progress rather slow. His spirit root was initially the worst mixed spirit root that would take 80 years to reach the late stage of qi refining. It was only with time and gradual improvement that his cultivation speed became notably faster as he reached the top-grade spiritual root. Additionally, Chun Sansi practices immortal and martial dual cultivation, coupled with various skills requiring time. Especially during the first 2 years of establishing the Great Han, he barely had time to cultivate. Fortunately, with resources and inheritance, continuous improvement would be achievable. After leaving the cave with the Guiyuan sect group, they headed straight northwest, flying roughly over 50 miles before stopping to reassess directions. Everyone gathered around the mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator leading them. Su Baoren held a copper piece in his left hand and a tattered sheepskin scroll in his right. Comparing with the mountains and rivers beneath them for a long time, finally waving his arm. "Let's check over there." Everyone immediately followed. Just this process was repeated several times, yet yielded no results. Su Baoren's brow gradually furrowed. "This thing is incomplete." Cui Jichen sighed. "When the second restricted area first opened, we, along with Shangyun sect and Spirit Silence Cave, were the first to enter. The ancient corpse we encountered had scattered items, each claiming some. Presumably, other parts of the map are with people from the other two sections." "Why not?" Qian Qiren stroked his chin. "Go ask them." "No need to find them, they're here." A cultivator shouted loudly while pointing to the edge of the sky. Sure enough, two groups of cultivators came controlling the sky from different directions. They were disciples from Shangyun sect and Spirit Silence Cave. Shangyun sect's chief disciple Zhang Jincheng slowly stopped, saying, "Taoist Su, name a price and sell me what you have." "Heh," Su Baoren said with a forced smile. "What a coincidence. I was thinking the same. How about Taoist Zhang, sell what you obtained to us? Name your price." Who doesn't know that Guiyuan sect currently doesn't have a spirit stone mine and can only rely on workshops below to earn spirit stones? Unceremoniously, Zhang Jincheng said, "Taoist Su better not endure forcefully. Simply offer a high price. Backing our transaction with sex is what each party truly needs." "You!" Su Baoren wanted to say something but was interrupted by a female cultivator from Spirit Silence Cave. "Why should the two Taoists confront each other? The secret realm belongs to everyone. Fighting won't benefit anyone in the end. We might as well cooperate to find the secret realm and then rely on our abilities." "Miss Zhang makes sense." Cui Jichen chimed in. "Instead of wasting time here, it's better to cooperate first to find the location." "Taoist Zhang." After prudent consideration, Su Baoren said, "In any case, I can't give you the item. How about the three parties cooperate? What do you think?" "That is acceptable." After some thought, Zhang Jincheng nodded in agreement. The three of them each took out a part of the sheepskin scroll, piecing them together to form a complete map of the inner area of the second restricted zone. They each focused intently on the map and quickly pinpointed the location they were looking for. "Follow me." Without further ado, Zhang Jincheng launched into sword flight towards the left front. The fellow sect members hurried to follow, while Guiyuan sect and Spirit Silence Cave disciples also followed closely behind. After half a day's flight, they arrived at a valley between two peaks. Without even getting close, they were attacked by skyful of vine tendrils like pythons. However, these aggressive spirit plants were not yet second tier, and for the many Foundation establishment cultivators present, they were truly no match. Accompanied by flickering spirit light, within a few breaths, the vine serpents were thoroughly cleared away, forcibly carving a path through the valley. After passing through the valley bottom, an overwhelming mist greeted them. A naturally forming mist. A disciple from Spirit Silence Cave recognized its origin and quickly dispersed it. Similar situations occurred every few miles forward, until after experiencing it 5 or 6 times, the path ahead finally became truly unobstructed. But at the same time, the surroundings suddenly turned eerie. Corpses. The valley floor was littered with corpses everywhere. Various corpses, in different states of death, turned into piles of bones after the ravages of time, densely covered with broken magic artifacts. The skeletons of nascent soul cultivators. Qian Qiren's voice trembled slightly. At a corner ahead, a corpse that had collapsed into the grass, though its flesh had decayed, still had faint, weak spirit light circulating its bones. And here, the skeleton of a golden body realm martial cultivator. Another skeleton, shining entirely with golden light, appeared as though it was made of gold, exuding a terrifying evil chi even after the passage of years, keeping people away with caution. In the glazed golden body realm, the internal organs are as clear as glaze, and the bones and flesh appear as gold. Another body of a nascent soul elder. The further they looked ahead, the more horrifying it became. Bodies of high-level cultivators of golden core and nascent soul realm were everywhere. If not for the long time since their death, their bones could even be used to refine magic artifacts of the demon path. For a moment, many cultivators dared not proceed further. What happened in this forbidden land in the past? For so many great powers to have died here? With so many powerful beings dead, proceeding further, could it be dangerous? Indeed. Chan Sansi mingled with the crowd, transmitting his location to the people of Skywall City through a sensing talisman, while cautiously observing everything in front of him. He also vaguely felt something was wrong, and quietly stayed at the back of the group. Now that we're here, Su Baoren's pupils emitted a bright blue spirit light, scanning the surroundings. Can we just retreat now? I see no immediate danger here. Why not press forward and take a look? Makes sense. Zhang Susu of Spirit Silence Cave nodded. Moreover, the Nine Nether Forbidden Land has restrictions preventing Golden Core and above cultivators from entering. If even we cannot explore it, then perhaps no one in the world can. Taoist Zhang, Taoist Su, moving forward, I hope our disciples from the three sects can cooperate sincerely to find the ultimate treasure. I agree, Su Baoren responded calmly. Zhang Jincheng also chose to consent. The disciples of the three sects continued forward, passing through a valley bottom piled with corpses, reaching a broad and flat spirit land that came into view. In the spirit land, there were various spirit plants, including a third-tier spirit plant. The visible count of second-tier millennial spirit plants was no less than 5. On witnessing such a scene, the eyes of the cultivators from the three sects gleamed brightly. Be careful. There's a restriction. Zhang Susu narrowed her eyes slightly, raising her hand to summon a wolf puppet. The wolf lunged forward, and as it was about to enter the spirit land, complex and mysterious array patterns suddenly lit up on the ground, unveiling a golden boundary covering the land. On the surface of the boundary, sword chi surged wildly, resembling numerous flying swords swirling, instantly grinding the wolf puppet into powder. A third-tier boundary. Seeing its power, all the cultivators were dumbfounded. A third-tier great formation. That's the grade of their sect's mountain protection array. Not right. Zhang Susu from Spirit Silence Cave, seemingly knowledgeable in formations, observed the boundary in front and murmured, It's not just third tier. Not just third tier? Su Baoren frowned. The power it displays is evidently mid-grade third tier. No formation or restriction can be eternal. Zhang Susu gently shook her head and explained, Even in the Eastern continent, restrictions laid down by the ancient great powers show signs of loosening every few years, let alone here. The boundary before us clearly results from weakening over the years. Oh! Zhang Jincheng's eyes moved slightly. You mean, after countless years, the boundary here still possesses third-tier power? That's correct. Cui Zhichen analyzed. With so many nascent soul ancestor skeletons nearby, how could a mere third-tier formation have worked back then? So, Su Baoren, stroking his bearded chin, said with some frustration, How can we get inside? A third-tier boundary is beyond what these foundation establishment cultivators can handle. Everyone, please wait a moment. Zhang Susu controlled her flying sword and soared into the sky, circled the barrier several times, and arrived at the cliff on the eastern side. She then used a spell to burn away the vines on the rock surface, revealing an array plate carved into the cliff. The array plate was not large, approximately the size of a dish, circular in shape, with array patterns engraved on the edges and many grooves for placing spirit stones. The very center of the array plate was a palm-sized gap. If my guess is correct, Zhang Susu said, here lies the mechanism to activate the barrier, and the gap at the center is where the array eye is located. Upon hearing this, Zhang, Su, and others ascended into the sky, approaching to observe the array eye. This shape appears. Su Baoren took out an irregular copper plate. Could it be this? Let's try to piece them together first. Zhang Susu was the first to take out a fragment and placed it in the gap. The other two immediately followed suit. There were 4 fragments in total. Zhang Jincheng had 2 himself, and when all 4 were pieced together, they formed something resembling a token. On the surface, 3 large characters were engraved, Guardian. Guardian. Chun Sanchi's heart stirred slightly. He remembered very clearly, among the relics left by his master, there was a wooden token with the same inscription. Only, his token was wooden, while the ones in their hands were copper plates. Immediately afterwards, Zhang Susu and the others laid out spirit stones, inserting them into the grooves of the array plate, all of which were expensive mid-grade spirit stones. After completing all this, the array plate truly began to draw spiritual power from the spirit stones, emitting a radiant glow. Zhang Susu's slender fingers pressed on the array plate, slowly adjusting it according to the positions of the 9 palaces and 8 trigrams, causing the barrier to flicker with each move. Boom! Until she found the right position, she slammed her palm down heavily, and the 3rd-tier barrier before them suddenly vanished without a trace. It worked! Qian Qiren exclaimed joyfully. Ha ha! Su Baoran clasped his hands and said, Fairy Zhang, at such a young age, has such profound understanding of arrays, able to manipulate even ancient barriers. You will surely become a master of formations in the future. You flatter me, Zhang Susu said indifferently. I merely used the existing array not truly breaking this formation. She then removed the copper plate fragments, returning each to its respective owner. Please keep the fragments safe. Once inside the secret realm, avoid internal strife. We may need to cooperate further. No problem, Su Baoran said. But how should the discovered treasures be distributed? If found together, like the heavenly materials and earthly treasures in this spirit land here, we divide them equally. Even if disputes arise, it's best to resolve them through resource exchange. Zhang Susu, familiar with both of them, acted as a mediator. On the contrary, once inside the depths, if separated and acting independently, naturally whoever takes it first owns it. Absolutely no plundering. Reasonable. Su and Zhang both agreed. Once allowed, the cultivators rushed in, each taking their share of the gathered herbs. Though disputes occurred, they managed to avoid physical conflict. After all, they were sect disciples, each wearing their battle robes. If they started fighting, it would not be personal anymore but a sect matter. No matter how proud a disciple may be, they must still be mindful of the impact. There's more ahead. Qian Qiren pointed to an area richly suffused with spiritual energy. Hold off on going deeper for now, Su Baoran cautioned. Should the barrier that was just shut suddenly reactivate again, and there be no other exit within, what should be done? I don't think it will, Zhang Susu stated. We have already removed the array Better safe than sorry. Recently the 7 Kill sect has been active. Who knows if they'll come looking? Su Baoran suggested. Let's have each of our 3 sects send someone to guard the array plate at the entrance. At this very moment, faced with all sorts of heavenly materials and earthly treasures, the cultivators grew somewhat envious, unwilling to stay behind. Qian Yu. Zhang Susu had no choice but to name someone. You stay. Only Wang Jun, looking at the vast spirit plants ahead, took a step back willingly. Senior brother, I am willing to stay. All right. Zhang Jincheng did not refuse. Then junior brother Wang Jun will stay outside the boundary to keep watch. Senior brother Su, should I stay too? Chun Sansi, disguised as Lu Feng, spoke up. All right, just be careful. Su Baoran agreed. Chun Sansi and 2 others stayed outside the boundary, while the rest started heading deeper inside. Sigh. Qian Yu, who was ordered to stay, grumbled reluctantly. I'm here for the charge, but I'm kicked aside when there's treasure. Who can say for certain that a setback isn't a blessing in disguise? Wang Jun said indifferently. To be honest, I have always felt this place is eerie, and there might be great danger lurking. It's best not to approach rashly. That's true. Qian Yu made no further comment. Mid-stage foundation establishment, early-stage foundation establishment. Chun Sansi's gaze swept over the 2 of them, calculating in his heart that he could probably handle them, but was mostly concerned about alarming the people inside. However, under the effect of the sensing talisman, part of the Skywall City contingent was already approaching the forbidden area, and when they all rush in, they should quickly resolve the two. After that, what he needed to do was see if he could use the wooden token in his hand to restart the boundary, trapping the disciples of the three sects inside, and then beat the dog behind closed doors. It's almost time. Chun Sansi sensed the position of his subordinates in his mind. Qian Yu lay on a stone, idly humming a little tune. Wang Jun meanwhile went to a higher spot to observe. Shortly, a paper crane leisurely flew into his palm, and his face suddenly changed. He immediately released another paper crane into the forbidden area to report the news, then flew away on his sword without saying a word. Ha! Qian Yu suddenly stood up. Mr. Wang, where are you going? Not good. Chun Sansi thought to himself. As a puppet master, he naturally could see through the clues. The other person's paper crane was a small puppet used for reconnaissance. The only anomaly around should be the kernels from Skywall City converging from different directions, most probably discovered by this person. That's why Wang Jun simultaneously reported the news to those inside the forbidden area while fleeing in haste. Can't let those inside know. Chun Sansi did not hesitate and immediately drew a bow and knocked an arrow, aiming at the paper crane entering the boundary's edge, releasing the arrow with precision. The flowing light arrow pierced through the air, accurately and thoroughly reducing the paper crane to dust with its immense true power. What is Taoist Lu doing? Qian Yu felt completely baffled. Nothing. Chun Sansi took out the golden scale flying blade. Show you a treasure. What? What are you going to do? Seeing the bow and arrow suddenly aimed at him, Qian Yu was shocked and horrified, instinctively raising a vine grass shield in front of him. Boom! The golden scale flying blade turned into a fiery flame flood dragon, its fire element overcoming wood, incinerating the second-tier magic artifact shield in an instant. Qian Yu staggered back, reaching for his life-bound flying sword at his waist while about to call out loudly, but it was too late. The dragon abyss sword tore through the fiery curtain, its cold gleam striking in an instant. He only felt a chill in his chest before everything spun and he lost consciousness. The entire process took just a breath, barely making any noise. Chun Sansi drew the dragon abyss sword from the corpse. The blue bird left the storage bag, chirping incessantly in his ear, wanting to seek revenge on Wang Jun because his cold iron bird had wounded the blue bird. It's time for revenge. Chun Sansi looked towards the direction Wang Jun fled, but he was already long gone. This guy. He fled quite quickly. Recalling back, he remembered during the mid-stage of the Great Han's founding, this guy ran to Chentang Prefecture and threw his fake head to the Bailiang army as a ruse. In the end, when the battle concluded, this person was nowhere to be found. Forget it. Next time I'll find an opportunity. Given the current situation, Chun Sansi couldn't waste too much time chasing down Wang Jun. As long as the Great Han gets through this difficult time, we'll settle accounts with these sects sooner or later. He comforted the blue bird, then ascended to mid-air to carefully study the array plate on the cliff. Pretty much the same size. Chun Sansi held the wooden token engraved with Guardian in his hand, feeling slightly anxious. The material is just different. Not sure if it will work. He decided to place the wooden token into the slot directly. Buzz! At the moment of contact, the seemingly decayed wooden token unexpectedly burst with dazzling spirit light. Chun Sansi placed his hand on it, feeling as if he had established some connection with the restriction of this place. However, due to the high rank of the restriction, he couldn't comprehend it, so he could only mimic Zhang Susu from Spirit Silence Cave, gently fiddling with the array plate. Rumble! Like a key entering a lock. When the positions aligned, the whole earth began to tremble. A torrent of spiritual power surged up from the ground, and the boundary once again enveloped the entire secret realm. Moreover, perhaps due to the wooden token, the power of the boundary seemed to have become significantly stronger, directly upgraded from the 3rd rank to the 4th rank. 4th rank formation, equivalent to nascent soul level. What principle? Chun Sansi felt the astonishing power with awe, repeatedly examining the wooden token but still unable to discern anything special. Because their copper plate was a patched-together piece, and my wooden token is intact? The closer he got, the more he could sense the connection between the wooden token and the restriction, or rather, control. The wooden token was like a token, holding a law-like dominance over the boundary. But Chun Sansi could never grasp the pattern within, maybe due to insufficient cultivation level, or perhaps his understanding of formations was not deep enough. With the token in my hand, the barrier seems not to harm me. He sensed something, and as he approached the edge, about 7 steps away, the barrier opened a passage. It really works. In that case, we won't need someone to control the array plate outside later. So that means this forbidden area or this battle is connected to the Guardian? Chun Sansi pondered, while noises erupted beside his ear. Sima Yao charged ahead with his long sword, followed closely by 40-odd Sky Wall City colonels who arrived almost simultaneously. "Greetings, Your Majesty. Rise and be at ease." Chun Sansi drew Dragon Abyss, the sword edge pointing directly at the forbidden area. "All of you, listen to my command. Guiyuan sect killed my senior brother, murdered our Han army strategist. If this revenge isn't taken, the nation's destiny cannot flourish. Today, there are 11 Guiyuan disciples in the forbidden area. None must be allowed to escape, and any sect disciple who dares to obstruct shall be killed without mercy. For killing one person, promotion by 3 ranks. If there are major contributions, a marquee title will be the reward. According to the current regulations of the Han dynasty, the official ranks within Skywall City differ from ordinary people, known as the 9th grade immortal official. Each grade has corresponding immortal salaries, such as spirit stones, elixir pills, or other resources. Everything has become more organized, more systematic. This is equivalent to each sect having its own merit system, exchanging accumulated contributions for cultivation resources. "We obey orders." The crowd suppressed their volume, but their killing intent shook heaven and earth. Wang Ji and Rong Yanqiu's pupils were already filled with blood veins. Chun Sansi, holding the Guardian token, opened a passage outside the barrier, allowing Skywall City colonels to pass through one after another. Still missing one person. Guiyuan sect has many foundation establishment cultivators. He still needs help. But if Deng Wuchang really doesn't come, Chun Sansi will still execute the original plan, though he will need to be more adaptable. He was not disappointed. About half a cup of tea later, a figure arrived riding a flying talisman. "Mr. Shao, you waited long." Deng Wuchang, full of smiles and spring brilliance, evidently found many good things on this trip. "Thank you, Brother Deng, for being willing to assist." Chun Sansi respectfully cupped his hands. Dealing with sect disciples is indeed extremely risky. For an ordinary sword catcher, since he has already obtained many heavenly materials and earthly treasures in the forbidden area, he might have exceeded the original reward. Why not continue to persist? "What are you thinking, kid?" Deng Wuchang guessed the other's thoughts. "Mr. Deng is not like those people. His reputation on the road is unparalleled. He makes a promise and keeps it. Also, thank you, brother, for the gifted storage bag." The storage bag played a significant role. The other party trusted him so thoroughly, not fearing he would eat his fill and leave. Thus naturally, he'd repay with credit. "It's inside." Chun Sansi maintained the passage, letting Deng Wuchang in first, then followed him deep into the secret realm. Disciples from 3 sects continued to explore after harvesting 2 spirit lands, but not far ahead, they suddenly found a light curtain overhead. The barrier restarted. What's going on? What restarted the barrier? The cultivators panicked and felt uneasy. "Where's Lu Feng?" Chen Qiren frowned. "They are guarding outside. If something happens, why is there no news coming in?" Buzz! Su Baoren shot straight to the heaven on his controlling the sky, but eventually the barrier blocked his path. "Are we really unable to get out?" Cui Zhichen's face was grim. "Who on earth did this?" "Everyone, don't panic." Zhang Susu wore the same grave expression but remained calm. "Let's piece the map back together first and see if there are other exits before we talk." The tattered sheepskin scroll was pieced together once more. The so-called forbidden secret realms are nothing more than ancient spaces that have collapsed. With such major disturbances, there are often more than one exit. Zhang Jinsheng discovered a clue and pointed to the southeast corner of the map. If my guess is correct, this marking may be another exit, but it seems to be quite distant from our current location. It's still the same thing, Su Baoran said somberly. Since we're here, no matter what happens, we can't leave empty-handed. We'll collect resources as we head towards the exit, and at the same time, figure out what's happening outside the boundary. Everyone agreed. They once again sent 3 people to check the situation in the rear. The rest continued forward, and after passing some stone tablets whose inscriptions were indecipherable, they were met with more corpses and heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Nascent soul corpses. How could there be so many? In front of them were at least a dozen nascent soul skeletal remains, perhaps turned into nutrients, causing the nearby spirit plants to grow exceptionally lush. So many nascent soul predecessors died. Which historical great war in ancient times could this be? The group speculated amongst themselves. The number of nascent soul skeletons they encountered on their journey likely exceeded the number currently alive on the Sky-Water continent. Bai Yujing. Qian Qiren found some shattered jade pendants beside a nascent soul skeleton, and after carefully piecing them back together, he could vaguely make out the inscriptions. Immortal Sect, Bai Yujing. The true immortal records mentioned, hundreds of thousands of years ago, there was a true immortal sect called Bai Yujing on the Sky-Water continent, established by true immortals from the upper realm, capable of connecting heaven and earth, linking 2 realms. At that time, nature's spiritual energy was still abundant, and various resources were not as scarce as they are now. As long as one's qualifications were sufficient, reaching core formation or even nascent soul was not an issue. Those years were the envy of all cultivators on the Sky-Water continent. Unfortunately, later, the demonic sect Luoshao sect's demon initiated a righteous demonic war that destroyed this world's foundation, causing spiritual energy to become ever more scarce and resources ever more depleted. There are no specific records of the details of that war. But now it seems that the 9 Nether Forbidden Land could very well be a battlefield from those days. If that's the case, it could explain the fall of so many high-level cultivators. And most of the spiritual objects growing here are due to the lingering spiritual energy in the area, not because they originally existed. It really was that war. Look quickly. There's a broken magic artifact here engraved with the ancient characters Luoshao sect. A cultivator spoke and couldn't resist giving 2 vehement kicks to the skeleton of the Luoshao sect's demon. If it weren't for these damned demons, would our cultivation today have to be so arduous? Not far away, Chun Sansi quietly lay in wait, observing the situation ahead, and with his superior senses, he naturally heard the conversation of these people. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, truly long ago. He raised his arm, signaling the Skywall City Colonel behind him to act accordingly and not to act rashly. It's not the time yet. Though their numbers were many, compared to himself and Deng Wuchang, the others' realms were insignificant. Against a single sect they might manage, but more than that would be counterproductive. When posing as Lu Feng, Chun Sansi also glanced at the map, knowing there would be a fork in the road ahead, where the 3 sects might briefly split. As expected, the disciples of the 3 sects stopped before the fork. Su Baoran, holding the map, said, "These routes ahead may all have treasures appearing. How about we each choose one, then meet on the main road up ahead?" Quickly then, Zhang Susu reminded, "We haven't figured out the situation with the boundary yet. There might be someone who snuck into the secret realm, so let's not stay separated for too long." Each sect chose a small path and quickly vanished. Chun Sansi was about to follow the Guiyuan sect down the leftmost path when his heart suddenly tightened. His Qi observation skill suddenly saw that hidden amidst the dense forest ahead was a silhouette quietly observing everything. After foundation establishment, the range of Qi observation skill wasn't fixed but depended on the strength of divine sense. This mysterious figure was just beyond the boundary, so he could see that someone was there but couldn't discern the specific realm's power. Yet Chun Sansi sensed an indescribable danger. A third-party force outside Skywall City, excluding sect disciples. The situation has changed. Chun Sansi transmitted to his subordinates. Hold on. On the battlefield, the most fearsome thing is the unknown. What happened? Deng Wuchang clicked his tongue. Backing out. Brother Deng. Chun Sansi continued to transmit. In the southeast direction, did you see a person? Person? No, I say Mr. Xiao, don't spook me. Deng Wuchang instinctively tightened his grip on the sword hilt. Chun Sansi kept silent, vigilantly watching the mysterious figure, while slowly trying to get closer, wanting to discern the person's strength and realm. The laws of the Nine Nether Forbidden Domain will suppress cultivators above the Golden Core. Theoretically, the mysterious person is at most in the late Foundation establishment stage. But he has seen late Foundation establishment cultivators before, usually with an oppressive mana feeling superior to his own, yet never this sense of danger. Just a few steps closer, Chun Sansi felt the figure abruptly turn, a chill seeping into his bones. Yet, precisely because of this extreme danger, it ignited an unknown fire in him. Dragon Abyss unsheathed, fire element true power ready to burst. However, the mysterious person seemed to have no hostility towards them, just glanced and ignored them, body flickering, directly heading to the fork leading to Spirit Silence Cave, disappearing in an instant. This person has their own purpose. Chun Sansi thought to himself. If that's the case, everyone shall not interfere with each other. Upon confirming that the mysterious person showed no sign of returning, he sheathed the Dragon Abyss sword and led the Skywall City colonels to follow the direction where the Guiyuan sect had left. Quick fight, quick decision. Deep in the forked road, Su Baoran led the Guiyuan sect disciples, traveling in haste, barely pausing until they reached a riverbank. Lush spirit plants grew by the river, broken spears and shattered swords stood like a forest, the scene identical to what they had seen before. Yet, curiously, the bones here had not decayed, and on the surface of the flesh grew clusters of colorful purple flowers, exuding a serene, eerie beauty. What spirit plant is this? Even Qian Qiren, who had been steeped in the book collection pavilion from a young age, could not identify these purple flowers. Seems they have a preservative effect on these corpses, lasting tens of thousands of years. If this falls into the hands of the corpse refining sect, it would be another disaster. Xiantian sect. Cui Zhichen picked up a broken flying sword and looked at the ancient text carved near the base of the hilt. If I remember correctly, Xiantian sect was also one of the major sects in ancient times. And here, Divine Martial Sect. A Guiyuan sect disciple found a large number of armored bodies near the murky river, identifying them through the jade tokens they carried. Divine Martial Sect. It was, in ancient times, one of the few orthodox sects specializing in martial arts. The corpses in front of them, 70% were above true power, numerous at the glazed golden body realm, maintained in Vajra unbreakable condition by the purple flowers. Hiss, there's a third-tier heavenly material and earthly treasure. Qian Qiren pointed to the rock's edge nearby, where a dark red flame flickered. It's a fire Ganoderma, at least over 2,000 years old. A fire Ganoderma over 2,000 years old is already a qualified core formation spiritual object. Foundation establishment requires foundation establishment pills, and golden core cultivators need 3 or more spiritual objects to increase the chances of successful core formation. Harvesting such a plant could be exchanged for enough merits to obtain vast resources, maybe even kept for personal use if one's qualification is sufficient. As he spoke, he already reached the fire Ganoderma's side, forming a spell with his hands, pulling the fire Ganoderma out whole. A heavenly material and earthly treasure growing for over 2,000 years, when suddenly uprooted, caused a noticeable surge of spiritual power, spreading out like waves centered on them. After just a few breaths, a mass of wandering souls and fierce ghosts surged from all sides. Be careful! Su Baoran immediately invoked several magical artifacts to guard in front of him. Blame me, Qian Qiren admitted with guilt. Surely the disturbance caused by the fire Ganoderma attracted these souls, and these souls, proven to be from the Shantian sect. Groups of wandering souls flew through the air, with some faces extremely familiar, apparently the same as those lying bodies on the ground. Demon purged. Return my Taoist inheritance. The wandering souls attacked ferociously, like fierce beasts descending the mountain. Su Baoran stood at the forefront, chanting various spells, bombarding the souls wildly. The other Guiyuan sect disciples also demonstrated their skills, engaging in fierce combat with the masses of wandering souls. These souls were much stronger than the ones encountered before, but fortunately, they were well prepared and coordinated, preventing severe losses. Among the 10 Guiyuan sect disciples present, they solved the batch of spirits at the cost of 3 being injured and 1 killed. The greater the disturbance, the more likely it is to attract more residual souls. Su Baoran held his flying sword with a stern expression. Quickly take away any useful items from nearby, then move forward, and if there's nothing else, meet the other 2 sects disciples on the main road ahead, leaving this secret realm. Also, Junior Brother Chui, has there been any news from Junior Brother Song, who stayed back to investigate, and Junior Brother Lu Feng? No, like Lu Feng, there's been no news. Chui Zhichen lightly shook his head, saying gravely, I suspect someone has infiltrated the forbidden domain, and may have been trailing us all along. We should not stay here for long. Stop searching and leave quickly. Su Baoran's heart grew increasingly uneasy, feeling that someone was hidden in the shadows watching them. Chui Zhichen, it seems you have a bit of spirituality, able to sense that your time is near. Your intuition is correct. This 9 netherworld is your final resting place. A voice filled with murderous intent fell from the sky, echoing on the banks of the netherworld. The Guiyuan sect disciples were taken aback. Not far away on a dirt hill, heads were moving, and unbeknownst to them, a large number of cultivators had gathered, each wielding weapons, moving with strict order, with a discipline similar to that of an army. Leading them was Lu Feng, dressed in a green robe. Lu Feng, Qian Qiren cursed. Are you mad? Qian Qiren, look again. Who am I? Chun Sansi raised his hand, casting a spell to remove the disguise technique, along with his attire, reverting to his original appearance in a white robe. After a dozen years, the familiar face appeared once more. Both Qian Qiren and Chui Zhichen were taken aback. Chun Sansi? Their pupils trembled, and their cheeks were filled with astonishment. Since their farewell on the divine continent, many years had passed. Chui Zhichen and the others had almost forgotten past events, unexpected to meet again here in this forbidden land, and were ambushed. Activating the investigation skill, observing Chun Sansi's cultivation, indeed more advanced than a dozen years ago, even the aura of his entire being had undergone significant changes. In the past, in their eyes, Chun Sansi seemed invincibly brave, and now, that bravery remained with an indescribable majesty in his eyes. This is the power of an emperor. So it's Brother Chun. Chui Zhichen asked knowingly, why don't you stay in the eastern continent as the Emperor Tianwu? Instead come to Skywater to trouble us in the upper sect? Chun Sansi ignored him, straightforwardly asked, is Elder Huang still alive? The Supreme Elder is certainly alive. Qian Qiren threatened, not only alive, but also has hope of forming a nascent soul in the future. Chun Sansi, you still have time to regret. Alive, that's good. Chun Sansi automatically ignored the latter part. Let him wait. I will go find him for a chat. Oh, I forgot, you can't return. While talking, his pupils began to burn, flames like silk draping over him. A fire dragon spiraled upwards, a long sword emitting an oppressive aura quietly unsheathed, looking down from above. Hee. Su Baoran swallowed a few elixir pills. His aura began to rise, his expression along with his gaze becoming fierce. Talking is useless if you want to fight. Come on, I want to see. Leading these chi-refining middle-stage kids, what waves can you create? Form the formation. Beside Chun Sansi, Dongfang Jingxing shouted harshly, Heavenly Gang Sword Formation. Swish. Upon command. The cultivators from Skywall City rose up uniformly, swords flying around them, dense sword chi like countless silver fish. In Chun Sansi's embrace, the Xianzhu released bursts of National Destiny Xian Qi. At the moment of the National Destiny's blessing, the previously weak sword chi suddenly became several times more violent, making the power demonstrated by the heavenly gang sword formation far exceed the Colonel's realm. Since the Xian Qi within the Xianzhu was transformed into National Destiny, it was the first time being used in actual combat. Sima Yao, Wang Ji, you two are the masters of the sword formation, responsible for the secondary array. Your main task is to kill those below the Foundation establishment, delay the Foundation establishment cultivators. Chan Sansi transmitted, Deng Wuchang, I will directly take the leader Su Baoran. You are responsible for holding Chen Qiren, Cui Jichen. Once I finish with the leader, I'll immediately assist you. Wait a moment? Deng Wuchang looked at the scene before him, suddenly somewhat confused. You're not Xiaofeng? No, wait. You're the Chun Sansi from the Eastern Continent all along. It's me. Chun Sansi did not deny it. At this point, Deng Wuchang had no other forces behind him. Since they were already on the same boat, there was no need to hide it anymore. Damn you! Deng Wuchang cursed. If I had known, I wouldn't have gone along with you on this job. He was deeply regretting it. Throughout the Sky-Water continent, who didn't know Chen Lei was one of the top fugitives? No one knows you here. Chun Sansi said solemnly, Brother Deng, I'm counting on you. All right. Deng Wuchang slowly drew his long knife. I'm bound to be ruined in your hands sooner or later, but let's be clear, just as agreed initially. I'm only promising to make a move and not to risk my life for you. If we can't win later, I'm definitely going to make a break for it. Chun Sansi didn't say anything. He simply handed over a few talismans like Flying Talisman and Wind-Breaking Talisman, which were specifically used for fleeing and escaping safely. Deng Wuchang paused, accepted the talismans while his flesh grew golden fur on the surface, his body becoming increasingly larger, transforming into a divine beast, his voice turning hoarse and savage. Then what are we waiting for? Let's do it. Heavenly Assault Army. Form the array and attack. Sima Yao shouted, leading the sword array into the crowd. Chun Sansi charged straight towards Su Baoran, wielding a spear in one hand and a sword in the other, the long spear transforming into a blazing vermilion bird, and the sword edge moving like a divine dragon. How is this possible? Su Baoran witnessed firsthand the cultivators from the Eastern Continent, whose combat strength skyrocketed after forming a specific formation, finding it unbelievable. Using people as a formation, naturally, the various sects in the Sky-Water continent also had such things. They often achieved a certain level of enhanced destructive power through coordinated efforts and special magic artifacts, but never to such exaggerated extents. Most of the cultivators in Skywall City were around the chi refining middle stage, but after forming the array, the sword chi they unleashed seemed to distinctly be at the late stage of chi refining. Moreover, those cultivators who already possessed late-stage chi refining combat strength occasionally burst out sword moves that reached perfect level when cooperating. Although still far from Foundation Establishment cultivators in real terms, Guiyuan sect brought only a few Foundation Establishment cultivators to participate in the secret realm, while the rest were merely at the late stage of chi refining. Moreover, they had just gone through a fierce battle, injured, not to mention the mana consumed that had not been replenished. Boom! During a moment of distraction, a scorching wave of air surged towards him. Su Baoran snapped awake, rapidly making hand signs at a speed that created afterimages, while various magic artifacts in front of him and an array of spells unfolded simultaneously. Water Dragon Skill, Earth Dungeon Technique, Palm Thunder, Ice Spur Decision. A total of 7 or 8 types of spells nearly all arrived at once. Chun Sansi did not dodge. Only at the last moment did he suddenly deploy Thick Earth Decision. All the spells landed on it, perfectly charging the Thick Earth Shield, which then transformed into a towering mountain smashing towards the adversary's head. Secret technique? Su Baoran watched as his spells rebounded back, feeling an impending sense of danger. He swiftly dodged aside but hadn't caught his breath when the long spear already threatened his face, forcing him to grab his flying sword to parry. Simultaneously, Dragon Abyss aimed straight at his heart. In the blink of an eye, he hurriedly summoned a circular shield, but was still sent flying tens of feet back, feeling his dantian being invaded by abnormal fire, which endlessly eroded his mana, causing his mana, already over half depleted, to rapidly dry up. Burning sky fire. What is this monster? Su Baoran lamented helplessly, wanting to flee but the boundary reopened, leaving them with no way to heaven or earth, forced to grit his teeth and endure. Chun Sansi's offensive grew more vigorous, as his opponent showed panic, becoming full of openings. Defeat loomed near. At this critical moment, he saw a familiar figure reappear in the distance, precisely the mysterious person who had previously tracked Spirit Silence Cave. After returning, the mysterious figure showed no intention of aiding either side, standing quietly 100 yards away, calmly observing the situation. There was no foliage to obscure the view. Chun Sansi finally saw the mysterious figure's face clearly. It was a blind woman. Fixing his gaze, the mysterious figure had a 9-dragon flying phoenix bun, wore a golden red silk robe, a Lantian jade belt dragged the long train, held a white jade guezhong with colorful sleeves. Her face was like a lotus petal, eyebrows like cloud rings. Her robe flowed wildly in the wind, appearing like the Guanghan fairy, looking down from above at the mortal world. Her immortal visage difficult to describe, her majesty inherent, surrounded by a murderous aura, so close to being impossible to gaze directly at. Beneath her cloud-like eyebrows, a black silk band covered her eyes. Yet even so, one could feel the cold gleam hidden beneath it. Just who is she? Chun Sansi thought the other party was headed for Spirit Silence Cave. Why did she return so quickly? Moreover, this blind woman seemed to harbor no hostility, nor any intention to act, merely standing at a high point, calmly watching the battlefield. Uncertain if using the word look is accurate, but it indeed felt like the first impression. Not only Chun Sansi, but Su Baoran also noticed the blind woman suddenly appearing, thus becoming even more flustered. At this moment, the situation beside the riverside gradually became clear. The Gueyuan sect disciples, having just dealt with a swarm of wandering souls, were already exhausted and couldn't withstand the sudden appearance of the heavenly gang sword formation, let alone their primary combat strength, which had already been held up. Deng Wuchang wielded twin blades, one long and one short. His divine beast-like figure constantly darted around. True power surged like a golden storm. Qian Qiren and Cui Zhichen each wielded flying swords, casting spells from both sides to assault, their offensives equally swift. Yet they too were exhausted in advance, unable to cause effective damage. Deng Wuchang was not impatient, occasionally attacking, occasionally defending, entangling the opponents to delay time. Junior brother Qian, junior brother Cui. Su Baoran was becoming increasingly unsustainable and shouted loudly. The situation is urgent. Quickly come to aid me. Go and join the other two sects. The implication was that the three of them abandon the other sect members and escape this place. It sounds cruel, yet it was an unavoidable solution. These enemies came rapidly, right at their weakest moment. If they continued fighting like this, they would be eliminated one by one, finally all perishing. Coming right now. Qian Qiren and the others also understood the situation. Demon, why are you still entangled? Cui Zhichen gathered power for a sword strike, repelling the golden hoe-shaped sword catcher. A pocket bronze bell appeared in his hand, flipping his palm. The bell enlarged above the sword catcher's head. Dong! As the chime sounded, darkness engulfed Deng Wuchang's vision, enveloping him entirely. Quickly help senior brother Su. Cui Zhichen swallowed several elixir pills to restore mana. This trapped beast bell is a second-tier top-grade magic artifact. It won't be easy for him to escape for a while. Zayla! Inside the bell, Deng Wuchang held twin blades, slashing with full force against the copper walls, but could only produce a piercing noise and leave a few cracks, unable to break through directly. Continuing to hack, he sighed, Deng has done his best. After trapping the sword catcher, Qian Qiren and Cui Zhichen moved swiftly, rushing to assist Su Baoren, beginning a three-way assault on the great Han Emperor. Chen Sansi remained fearless, holding a spear in one hand and a sword in the other, surrounded by thick soil protection. Countless swords arriving from behind, facing three opponents without falling behind. Dong, dong, dong. In an instant, only the tremendous noise of magic artifact clashes and spell bombardments echoed along the riverbank. Chun Sansi was only in the Foundation establishment early stage on the immortal path, hence his mana wasn't as deep as theirs, but this wasn't meant to be the killing blow, merely a means to approach the opponents. The true confidence lay still in his unrivaled spear technique and exquisitely skilled swordsmanship, casting spells for better close combat opportunities. The magic cultivation body was weak, close combat exposed their vulnerabilities. Not to mention, the Longdan bright silver spear was imbued with burning sky fire. Each strike scorched the opponent's mana regardless of hitting vital points. Within 10 moves, Su Baoren and the others, who originally wielded spells with skillful ease, started to struggle, unable to find any flaw in their adversary. Every move seemed pre-calculated, effectively counterattacking. Boom! The fire dragon roared wildly, smoothly finding the gap amidst overpowering spell bombardments, whistling out, directly penetrating Su Baoren's abdomen. Meanwhile, Chun Sansi swung up the dragon abyss, blocking Qian Qiren's flanking flying sword attack. Ah! Qian Qiren roared hideously, his hands forming spells as if bearing the weight of mountains, trembling as he cried, "Brother Cui, quickly!" No need for him to speak. Cui Zhichen had already circled behind, the flying sword glowing brightly, aiming directly at the white robe's back. In a flash, Chun Sansi rotated the gun blade, shredding Su Baoren's internal organs, with fire element true power layering and exploding at its deepest, flames spreading like clouds, incinerating the body to ashes, carving a dazzling arc in the firelight, brushing backward, colliding with the incoming flying sword. Cui Zhichen staggered backward. Chun Sansi seized this chance to change direction. The spear dragon head aimed straight at Qian Qiren's heavenly spirit. What? Qian Qiren was horrified, trying to retract his flying sword for defense. But under Dragon Abyss's suppression, he felt overwhelmed, unable to move. Before he could come up with other strategies, the Longdan bright silver spear stabbed forth like a fiery flame flood dragon, directly swallowing his head, leaving only a headless corpse to plummet from midair. Chun Sansi did not stop. Purple thunder bow suddenly appeared. He pulled the bowstring, using the long spear as an arrow, aiming at Cui Zhichen who had just landed and was ready to escape, accumulated power and shot an arrow. The fiery flame flood dragon howled and arrived, carrying the burning sky fire that blocked out the sky and the sun. Cui Zhichen had no way to avoid it, hurriedly raised his hand to summon back the trapped beast bell that had trapped the sword catcher before, placing it on himself as a shield. Boom! The long spear fell, the trapped beast bell, that was already full of cracks, completely shattered. Under the scorching heat wave, Cui Zhichen's body flew backward like a broken kite. He only felt his internal organs burning, his vision darkening, barely regaining a sliver of consciousness. He saw the sword light shine. The Dragon Abyss sword swept over. Cui Zhichen's head flew high, completely severing his life. Chun Sansi carried the bow and arrow, held the Dragon Abyss in his left hand, grabbed back the long spear with his right hand, and landed with the overwhelming fire, like a meteorite from outer space. Su, Cui, and Qian, the three were dead. The Guiyuan sect no longer had enough combat power. He rushed into the melee without hesitation, mercilessly reaping lives one by one. A quarter of an hour passed. The battle ended. Since Lu Feng, all 12 disciples from the Guiyuan sect who came to the 9 Nether Forbidden Land to seek treasure were killed. Not a single one escaped. Because the fight didn't last long, only 5 members of the Skywall City Kernel were lightly injured. None were killed. Bodies were everywhere. Blood flowed like a spring. Collect the heads. Bring them back to the Great Han. As Chun Sansi gave the order, his gaze once again turned to the mysterious figure on the hillside. He saw The blind woman still stood in the wind, immovable like a divine statue, silently watching everything ahead. What on earth is she up to? While fighting, Chun Sansi never dared to fully commit, keeping an eye on the movements at the back, worried that this person might suddenly attack. Miss. Since the other side showed no hostility, he couldn't be aggressive either. While ordering his men to clean up the battlefield, he asked, "Do you have any business?" At this moment, a sandstorm swept in. The blind woman stood amidst the swirling yellow sand, her red lips moving slightly, faintly hearing two words. Quick escape. Quick escape. Chun Sansi felt a bit puzzled, immediately scanned the surroundings again, suddenly noticing the abnormal situation on the ground. The corpses of the Guiyuan sect disciples lay on the ground, and fresh, still warm blood gushing from their wounds didn't stay on the surface. Instead, it seeped quickly into the deep soil in a very eerie manner, disappearing soon as if some bloodthirsty beast was lurking underground, greedily absorbing the blood. At the same time, the purple flowers co-growing with the corpses began to emit a series of scarlet spirit lights, quickly enveloping the area within 100 feet. This is bad. Chun Sansi finally understood the blind woman's intention, and the fire element true power burst out instantly. The dragon abyss sword wrapped with red flame ferociously stabbed down, directly incinerating the corpse of an ancient cultivator at his feet. Meanwhile, all the ancient cultivator corpses came back to life under the spirit light's illumination. Pairs of eyes suddenly opened. One by one, cultivators who should have died hundreds of thousands of years ago soared into the air, suspending in midair. The sudden change shocked the Sky Wall City colonels. Damn it, resurrecting? Wang Ji stared with his bean-like eyes, seemingly unable to believe what he saw. Are these zombies? No, Chi Chang calmly analyzed. It should be these purple spirit plants on the ground, parasitizing the corpses. It's them controlling the bodies. More and more corpses revived, densely suspending in the air, surrounding the people of Sky Wall City in an impenetrable formation. Their hollow eyes gazed at the ground, their hands mechanically forming spell signs, and broken magic artifacts on the ground were summoned back to their owner's hands. After being parasitized by these purple flowers, not only could the corpse remain uncorrupted, but they could also be controlled, retaining some of the skills from their living days. The corpse of a nascent soul expert wielding a long sword directly slashed towards the densest part of the ground crowd. Watch out! Chun Sansi flickered and appeared in front of Zhou Weijin and others, simultaneously forming a spell, condensing a thick earth shield in front of him. Rumble! A sword fell. The thick earth shield shattered, and Chun Sansi himself was knocked back, sliding 100 steps backward with the dragon abyss sword embedded in the ground before barely regaining his balance. After death, unless special secret techniques are prepared, most cultivations will disperse, but even so, the power of a sword from the nascent soul ancient corpse was astonishing. Your Majesty! Dongfang Jingxing and Qi Chang rushed over. How is your Majesty? It's disgraceful that your Majesty had to protect us instead. We deserve 1,000 deaths. Enough nonsense. Quickly leave. Chun Sansi drew his sword and stood up. At the same time, the remaining corpses launched an attack, sparking a second round of slaughter with Sky Wall City. The nascent soul ancient corpses were formidable, but they had a flaw. They lacked the protection of cultivation boundaries, and their bodies were extremely fragile, easily destroyed with a few spells. However, the ancient corpses of the divine martial sect martial cultivators were even more troublesome. One by one, the golden body realm ancient corpses rose, grabbing weapons haphazardly and attacking wherever there was a living presence. Chun Sansi quickly found himself surrounded. These ancient corpses possessed immense strength, their sheer physical power equivalent to martial artists in the true power middle stage, their numbers overwhelming even someone like him. Most critically, even if Chun Sansi found a chance to attack the ancient corpses, it was challenging to destroy the golden skeletal structure beneath the armor. Sima Yao, Wang Ji, you two stay behind with me. Chun Sansi threw the guardian wooden token into the eunuch's hands, commanding loudly, "The rest? Leave this secret realm swiftly." As you command. Knowing staying would only be a burden, Dongfang Jingxing put away his 10,000 soul banner, took the wooden token, and ascended, opening a gap at the top of the boundary dome. The kernels of Skywall City began breaking through to retreat. Ah! Help me! General! Save me! Yet in the process, many were still intercepted by the ancient corpses, their painful wails soon silenced by a chaos of blades, their blood quickly absorbed by purple flowers. Boom! Chun Sansi held the blazing dragon abyss sword in both hands, cutting at a fierce angle towards the neck of an ancient corpse in front of him. The blade tore through flesh but got stuck at the bone. Before he could gather power again, more golden ancient corpses attacked, forcing him to swing a long-dan bright silver spear in all directions. But this only knocked the ancient corpses back, unable to deal any effective damage because they were already dead. Sima Yao, in the form of a fierce wolf, quickly became exhausted. Wang Ji, caught off guard, took a sword to the back, blood swiftly covering his back as he gritted his teeth to persevere. Fortunately, the other colonels of Skywall City had mostly withdrawn. Chun Sansi ordered, "You two leave as well. Your Majesty, how can there be a king covering for his servants? Less nonsense, I can still hold on." Chun Sansi was not just being rash, but given the situation, someone needed to hold the rear or none would escape. Moreover, only he had the capability to buy time. "Brother Chun." Deng Wuchang leaped over, coming to the aid of the white robe, relieving pressure. Once Sima Yao and Wang Ji left, he too ascended skyward. "Thank you, Brother Deng." Chun Sansi roared, unleashing his full force, savage as a fire dragon, forcing the dense crowd of ancient corpses back half a step, then himself stepped onto a flying sword to escape. Just then, an ancient corpse wielding a mountain-opening giant axe suddenly leaped into the air, runes flowing across its blood and flesh, the power it unleashed even greater than ordinary golden ancient corpses. Boom! As the axe fell, Chun Sansi raised his spear to block, smashing down from mid-air into the ground, leaving a massive crater. When he raised his head again, he was already surrounded once more. "Your Majesty! Your Majesty!" Boom! Countless ancient martial cultivator corpses, wielding swords, spears, halberds, and pikes, descended in all directions with overwhelming power, shaking the earth and mountains, causing landslides and cracking the ground, creating a pit over a yard deep in front of them. Chun Sansi used the earth tunneling talisman, appearing behind the corpses, but when he looked up, the sky offered no retreat. Countless nascent soul ancient corpses were flying with their swords, rushing toward the breach in the barrier, already blocking the retreat path completely. "Close the barrier, you go first." While fending off the attacking corpses, Chun Sansi urged his subordinates, warning that if they didn't leave soon, the corpses would soon chase them beyond the breach. His long spear blocked the incoming broadsword. "This is the Emperor's command. You all leave first. Leave the token. I have my methods." "As you command." Dongfang Jingxing watched the tide of ancient corpses and had to comply, leaving the barrier and using the object manipulation technique to deliver the token to the Emperor's hand. At the same time, the breach in the barrier disappeared, closing again, and several corpses were shredded to pieces under the rampant sword chi. Chun Sansi caught the Guardian's wooden token and crushed the last earth tunneling talisman on his body, intending to escape the encirclement and then find a chance to leave the barrier after shaking off these corpses. But just at that moment, a nascent soul ancient corpse flashed and also tunneled underground, moving with incredible speed, wielding a flying sword to thrust directly at him. This talisman was not of high grade. Hit by the attack, Chun Sansi burst through the ground under the impact, staggering and kneeling on one knee as many corpses had already ambushed nearby. The sound of swords whistling, blades flashing everywhere. Chun Sansi had no way to retreat and could only draw his Xian Yuan sword and take out the immortal treasure Strange Fire, his pupils blazing with firelight, preparing to fight desperately to carve a bloody path out. These corpses were after all just vessels from hundreds of thousands of years ago, with limited mana stored. As long as he could briefly shake them off, he could use the wind-splitting seal to leave this place. He was about to ignite the strange fire when he felt the surrounding temperature suddenly drop. A layer of frost covered the surface of the grass at his feet, as if winter had descended, making the actions of many corpses before him stiff and slow. This cold came from behind. Chun Sansi turned his head. He saw the blind woman still standing there, her hands, exquisitely crafted like jade, now holding a pitch-black iron sword. The iron sword was over 4 feet long, and as she held it, the sword tip plunged into the soil, cold air flowing from her body into the sword, then onto the ground, spreading out hundreds of feet to envelop the whole riverside. Under the frost, even Chun Sansi, with his heavenly grade fire spirit root, felt the bone-chilling cold and had to circulate his cultivation technique to maintain his body temperature. The nascent soul ancient corpse using the earth tunneling technique was also severely affected, but he seemed to be the best preserved of all the corpses, and quickly resumed freely after using some unknown spell, his mana climbing from the foundation establishment early stage to middle stage to late stage, and it continued to rise. Move aside. A toneless female voice reached Chun Sansi's ears. The blind woman moved. In just a few breaths, extreme cold mana had formed a 3-foot-thick layer of ice beneath her boots, with glaciers surrounding her, freezing the iron sword and her in place. Without any unnecessary movements, she merely drew the iron sword from the glacier, making a clean sword-slashing style. Suddenly, a terrifying sword chi enveloped in frost formed a silver crescent-shaped arc across the ground, as if to rend the entire solid earth, slashing toward the densely packed corpses. Warned beforehand, Chun Sansi was prepared, bursting with his true power to break out to the side before the frosty sword chi arrived, avoiding a direct confrontation with the nascent soul corpse. The sword chi passed with a crunching sound of freezing instead of the imagined booming mana clash, as if even the void froze in extreme cold. Chun Sansi hurriedly employed the 10,000 beast fierce fire, forming several barriers before him, even though he still felt his body becoming stiff from the aftereffects. Thud! The sword chi collided with the nascent soul ancient corpse, sending the latter flying backward. The crescent-like frost sword chi continued advancing, splitting countless corpses from their brows down the middle, severed limbs scattering across the sky. This sword cleaved a path. Chun Sansi stepped onto the flying sword, casually plucking a purple flower from the surface of a corpse's body, taking the opportunity to escape the encirclement, repeatedly employing the wind-splitting seal to flee into the distance. More corpses appeared in the distance, converging toward the riverside. The blind woman did not linger to fight. After one sword, she also stepped onto an ice spur for airborne flight, soon catching up to the white robe ahead. The two fled for dozens of miles before stopping near a desolate mountain after ensuring they had shaken off the corpses. "Thank you, miss, for your assistance." Chun Sansi clasped his hands in gratitude. Without the mysterious woman, he would have struggled immensely to retreat unscathed, even expending a large quantity of immortal treasure strange fire. The blind woman stood 7 steps away, just as before, motionless like a statue, silent. Chun Sansi employed the chi observation skill from a close distance, discovering the other's realm was at the foundation establishment late stage or perfection, not surpassing the law of the forbidden area. It's just, during the escape earlier, he caught a glimpse of a cluster of blood energy hidden within the woman's dantian. Now it has completely vanished and he doesn't know the reason. Why did the woman lend a helping hand? Was it for some motive, or did she simply act on a whim? "Miss." Chun Sansi felt the atmosphere was somewhat frozen. Though the other person hadn't cast any spell, he still felt as if he were surrounded by ice and snow. He couldn't help but ask, "May I ask for your name?" "Qing Shu Sect." The blind woman replied extremely succinctly, "Jiang Xie." "Qing Shu Sect." Chun Sansi was slightly taken aback. "It's actually someone from the Qing Shu Sect." "That's right. Some time ago, by family master Bai Liangbi mentioned that they had already established communication with the Qing Shu Sect, and would soon send someone over." Unexpectedly, the other person appeared first in the Ninyo Forbidden Land. "Wait a minute." Her surname is Jiang? Could she be the Jiang Xianzi mentioned in Fourth Senior Brother's Last Wishes? Help me. Before Chun Sansi could inquire, the blind woman spoke. Help. Chun Sansi agreed. Jiang Xianzi just helped out. I'm indeed feeling I cannot repay you. Just tell me what you need, and I will do my utmost. What's free is often the most expensive. The other's disclosure of her motive actually gave him some peace of mind. But this sword cultivator from the Qingshu sect is far above his realm. What can he offer assistance in? Follow me. Jiang Xie, sparing words, after uttering 3 more words, continued to fly forward, heading straight to the destination. Chun Sansi summoned Chen Sun, closely following behind. The woman's speed in controlling the sky was also top-notch. Riding Chen Sun with the wind-splitting seal, he barely managed to keep from falling behind, even though she wasn't fully engaging in sword control. Miss Jiang, Chun Sansi called loudly. You still haven't said what you need me to do? Get something. Jiang Xie replied calmly. Chun Sansi understood. It seems this Jiang Xianzi came to the Ninyo Forbidden Land also for a treasure hunt. But still, why does she need him, given that his realm is not as high as hers? After half a day winding around above the boundary, Jiang Xie finally lowered her flying sword and entered the narrow gap between 2 mountain peaks. A winding staircase appeared on the cliff to their left, leading up to a pitch-black cave at the end. Upon entering the cramped canyon, Chun Sansi gradually felt uncomfortable, as an indescribable force attacked from all directions, seemingly imprinting runes on him, weakening his mana, true power. Yellowstone Mountain. This place, like Yellowstone Mountain, with its ability to suppress all cultivators' realms to the Qi refinement realm, had laws that suppress cultivation. Chun Sansi could feel that if he continued a few more steps, his realm would be suppressed to Qi refinement and transcend mortality, or even lower. Miss Jiang. He began to hesitate. The blind woman said nothing, only gracefully landing on the steps, starting to walk forward step by step, her realm quickly suppressed to the Qi refinement realm. Chun Sansi pondered silently. Their strength was inherently greater than his. If they had other intentions, they could have directly taken action against him, without the need to bring him here. Under the same Qi refinement condition, he as an immortal and martial dual cultivator was stronger. With this thought, Chun Sansi didn't hesitate for long, decided to retract Chen Sun, and followed closely into the range of law suppression. Hiss! This feeling of being unable to exert force made him extremely uncomfortable. Miss Jiang. Chun Sansi quickened his pace. Might I ask, do you know Qingshu Sect's Master Yuling? My master. Jiang Xie said concisely. Master Yuling is your master? Chun Sansi pondered in his heart. In this case, they could be considered acquaintances in some sense. Should he take out the Jade Pendant token and discuss the follow-up cultivation technique and seeking help? After careful consideration, he decided to focus on solving the matter at hand first. After traversing a long staircase, the two arrived at the entrance of the mountain cave. On the stone tablet beside them, the words Guardian's Cave Mansion were carved. Another Guardian, and the boundary was arranged using the Guardian token as the array I. What is it that my master originally passed on to me through this token? Chun Sansi constantly calculated in his heart, following the blind woman into the cave. Boom! As they crossed the threshold, the torches on the stone walls on both sides of the passage lit up, illuminating the scene inside. In fact, even in darkness, Chun Sansi could perceive everything. He saw corpses everywhere on both sides, with strange purple flowers attached to them. It seemed a battle had taken place here. After walking a dozen steps forward, a closed stone gate appeared ahead. Wait for me. The blind woman took out a compass-shaped magic artifact from her waist and began to decipher the restrictions on the stone gate. Chun Sansi quietly waited beside her. During the process, he bent down to pick up some scattered jade scrolls, among which were cultivation technique legacies from ancient times, though unfortunately, they were damaged to varying degrees, making them unusable for cultivation. Skill. Reading, great success. Progress, 125/2000. These ancient texts bore many similarities to the texts Chun Sansi encountered in his daily cultivation of talisman and formation skills. Despite their crude appearance, he could manage to understand them. Through the fragmented records within the Jade Scrolls, he finally understood what these purple flowers capable of manipulating ancient corpses were. A typical demon path seed cultivated by the ancient demon cult, Undying Sect, Corpse Demon Vine. Chun Sansi browsed the content. If properly used, it can refine elixir pills greatly beneficial to corpse cultivators, but if left to parasitize, it will utterly erode one's consciousness. Generally, it can only be used to create corpse puppets. Low-level corpse puppets have purple flowers that awaken when they sense blood, while high-level corpse puppets have red flowers that immediately awaken and attack indiscriminately upon sensing the presence of living beings. Moreover, cultivating the corpse demon vine also requires corresponding secret techniques, otherwise it will quickly wither. He took the previously picked corpse demon vine from his storage bag and found that it had indeed completely withered. Forget it. These sinister paths lead to trouble if misused. Chun Sansi simply discarded it. In the direction the flower fell, he noticed a corpse. The corpse's death was gruesome, with half of its spine extracted. The spine looked as pure as jade, with dense golden runes flowing across its surface. Divinity Transformation Cultivator. Chun Sansi was greatly surprised. He remembered the records from the books he had read, which said only divinity transformation cultivators who grasped part of the heaven and earth laws would have golden runes appear on their bones. This meant that in life, the corpse before him was actually a divinity transformation cultivator. Divinity transformation is above the nascent soul, and it's said to allow one to ascend to the upper realm. The upper realm is a place where true immortals exist. Even the earlier ancient nascent soul corpse was so difficult to deal with. If a divinity transformation cultivator were to awaken, who knows what kind of destructive power might arise. Chun Sansi instinctively took a few steps back. Buzz! On the other side, the blind woman successfully opened the stone gate. As soon as the stone gate swung open, numerous wandering souls swarmed out. Trapped for hundreds of thousands of years, they charged forth like mad beasts, showing their fangs ferociously. Beware! While Chun Sansi was warning, he had already gripped the purple thunder bow, and for golden scale flying blades shot out, accurately smashing several wandering souls into fragments, dispersing them completely. Demon, run! From deep within the stone gate, mournful howls echoed, and soon a beast-like tide of wandering souls flew by. They seemed to have encountered something extremely terrifying, racing towards the exit in panic. The foremost figure appeared familiar. It was none other than the divinity transformation cultivator at Chun Sansi's feet, and the faces of the wandering souls behind him corresponded to many of the golden core and nascent soul corpses inside the cave. Go now! The divinity transformation cultivator roared with all his might. All laws are forbidden. All laws are forbidden. All magic is forbidden. A divinity transformation cultivator, the supreme existence of the mortal world in the high realm, now has a face of extreme terror. Chun Sansi drew his bow and fired 4 arrows. The 4 symbols divine beasts came roaring with overwhelming flames, directly burning more than a dozen residual souls to ashes. However, the number of souls behind was too large, truly spreading like a black tide. Chun Sansi sidestepped into the recesses of the stone wall in the passage, avoiding the frontal assault of a large number of residual souls, while drawing out the Dragon Abyss sword from the storage ring. But these residual souls did not attack him but merely wailed and screamed toward the exit of the cave mansion, as if a terrifying beast were chasing them, leaving no thoughts other than survival. Within a few breaths, hundreds of residual souls rushed out of the cave mansion, disappearing without a trace. The actions of residual souls often repeat the obsessions of their previous lives. Even their obsessions seek escape. They must have been quite frightened when alive. After the last wisp of residual soul floated away, Chun Sansi returned to the passage. Frost-blanketed, Ice Soul was unsheathed. Jiang Xie said nothing, holding a black iron sword, slowly walking into the stone gate, swallowed by darkness. The law's suppression is even more severe. Chan Sansi saw with his own eyes, as the blind woman crossed the stone gate, her mana, which had already weakened to the Qi refinement realm, completely disappeared, turning into a mortal. All magic is forbidden? His mind echoed with the divinity transformation cultivator's scream. Could it be that regardless of the realm, crossing the threshold will strip one's cultivation, turning them into mortals? If that's truly the case, Chun Sansi felt there was nothing to fear. He was a martial artist who had trained tirelessly day and night in pile work and techniques. His martial arts, forged through thousands of repetitions, existed regardless of cultivation. Thinking thus, Chun Sansi hesitated no longer, holding the Longdan bright silver spear over a foot long, followed suit, crossing the stone gate of the passage. Instantly, he felt countless invisible forces between heaven and earth clinging to him, like runes containing laws and engraving knives, beginning to seal his cultivation, removing his root bone. Within a blip, Chun Sansi's cultivation was utterly wiped out amidst unbearable pain. Hiss! The sudden change made it nearly impossible for him to hold onto the Longdan bright silver spear. Fortunately, it was not dependent on its weight, unlike certain magic artifacts, which would have been impossible to lift. Chun Sansi looked down and saw that the spirituality on the bright silver spear was also erased by the laws, now nothing but an ordinary mortal weapon. He then focused his attention on the inside of the cave mansion, discovering that although inside the mountain, there were many small medicine gardens. The cave mansion holds spiritual energy, with various spirit plants growing in the medicine gardens, but they were similarly affected by the laws and stopped growing at an early stage, maintaining their original forms. Yet even so, by outward appearance, most were above second-tier quality. Besides, there were ancient corpses. Like other places within the forbidden area, inside the Guardian's cave mansion, high-realm cultivator corpses lie everywhere, infested by corpse puppet demon vines, which, unlike purple ones, are blood-red. Damn! Chun Sansi recalled the Jade Scrolls records outside the cave mansion. High-grade corpse puppet demon vines appear blood-red, and their host bodies will awaken upon sensing the breath of the living. He reminded, Miss Jiang, should we retreat first? The blind woman remained silent, continuing to walk forward, soon reaching the core area piled with ancient corpses. Sure enough, perceiving the breath of living beings, the long-dormant ancient corpses awakened one after another. Jiang Xie drew the Ice Soul sword, fearlessly plunged into the ancient corpse swarm, her sword light flickering, her form gracefully darting like a startled swan, cutting through one ancient corpse after another. Chun Sansi could not avoid a similar fate, as more ancient corpses began to converge towards his direction. One of the ancient corpses had its arm stripped of flesh during life, leaving only bare bone, sharp like a weapon. Moreover, the corpse's bones, composed of emerald green jade, flowed with golden runes on the surface, seemingly a martial cultivator above the golden body realm. An ancient martial cultivator corpse above the golden body realm. Under all magic is forbidden. Even Chun Sansi's Qi observation skill lost effectiveness, rendering him unable to assess the opponent's exact strength. Facing no choice, he took up his spear, using the true mortal physique to confront, sidestepping the falling blades on either side, approaching like a phantom, before his spear shifted at an acute angle avoiding obstacles, boldly stabbing into the jade bone ancient corpse. Chun Sansi initially thought, despite the all magic is forbidden suppression, an ancient corpse above the golden body ought to be far superior to himself. Instead, the moment he stabbed, the imagined crash into an impenetrable wall never materialized. On the contrary, the ancient corpse proved surprisingly fragile. No different from ordinary mortal flesh. The Longdan bright silver spear pierced the air, directly penetrating the jade bone ancient corpse's chest, nailing it to the stone wall. Then he drew out the dragon abyss sword, swiftly decapitating it. The core roots of the corpse puppet demon vine either parasitize the heart or the head. Once these two places are destroyed, The corpse puppet will subsequently die. Chun Sansi drew his long spear and continued to deal with the rest of the ancient corpses. Aside from a few ancient martial cultivator corpses, dealing with them was unexpectedly easy. Basically, it was like a martial arts expert with a divine weapon dealing with a group of ordinary people who only knew basic boxing moves. Within a short time, the 10 magic cultivation corpses around, along with a few martial cultivator corpses, were all lying askew on the ground, once again falling into slumber. Strange. Chun Sansi walked to the side of an ancient corpse in the golden body realm, raised his foot, and stomped on its chest, hearing a crack as the rib bones were directly broken. He then used the dragon abyss to cut through the flesh, seeing that the bones inside were indeed golden but very fragile, no different from those of ordinary people. He swiftly followed up with a sword slash to the jade bone, easily slicing it, no different from a mortal. This law is really formidable, Chun Sansi thought to himself. It seems, not only is the cultivation level reduced, but the physical strength is also weakened, and all aspects are akin to those of a mortal, including himself. All laws prohibited. Chun Sansi took out the national fortune Shinju, staring at a stream of clean energy within it. This clean energy was gifted to him by Mr. May, who said at the time that it could prohibit all laws once. Could this be the effect? If so, it would be an unparalleled trump card. But so far, Chun Sansi had not figured out how to use this clean energy. Maybe he could discover something here. His master had great respect for Mr. May and possessed the token of the Guardian. This place was the Guardian's cave mansion, and with the law that all laws were prohibited, there might be some connection. Once he understood the use of the clean energy, even if it couldn't be used at this day's Fong City, it would definitely play an extremely important role in the future. Thinking so, Chun Sansi picked up the long spear from the ground and continued walking deeper, catching up with the blind girl's pace. After his cultivation was reduced, he felt somewhat tired after a short while, as if returning to the early days of practicing martial arts. The end of the medicine garden was a suspension bridge, the end of which led to a larger underground palace. Screech! A piercing eagle cry came from above, followed by pairs of ghostly green vertical eyes lighting up in the darkness, countless and overwhelming. One raptor spread its wings, moving so fast that it left an afterimage, and instantly appeared before the two of them, with sharp claws like blades. Chun Sansi instinctively raised his spear to pierce, only to feel an unstoppable impact, staggering backward a few steps. This fierce beast, even in the all laws prohibited state, its physical power was stronger than that of ordinary people, and there were many of them. Miss, fall back. Chun Sansi blocked the front, took out a long-sealed Kaiyuan bow from his storage ring, and then drew the bow and knocked an arrow, continuously shooting at the fierce beasts blocking the way above. Every arrow shot extinguished a pair of ghostly green eyes, and every shot hit its target without fail. Inside the cave mansion, for a time, only the sound of bowstrings vibrating and the wailing of fierce beasts remained. Yet these unknown fierce beasts were so numerous that even if Chun Sansi stood there shooting for 3 days and nights, he might not finish them all. So he paved the way with bows and arrows while leading the blind girl forward, continuously pulling the bowstring and feeling his arms ache. Until now, Chun Sansi roughly guessed why the blind girl sought his help. The encounters in the cave mansion seemed easy, but if he weren't a martial artist with solid skills, he would have died countless times. Even Jiang Xia, with her beautiful swordsmanship, still had some flaws from an expert's point of view. Judging by her familiarity with this place, she must have visited once before. The two of them crossed the suspension bridge, passing over a deep abyss to the outer area of the underground palace, facing 5 passages in different directions. Which way to go? Chun Sansi asked aloud. By now, he was also intensely interested in the depths of the cave mansion. Jiang Xia, her face veiled in a black silk band, tilted slightly as if listening to sounds in the passages, standing there without moving for a long time. How is it? Chun Sansi, drawing his bow and knocking an arrow, couldn't help but ask as more fierce beasts flew towards them. Which path should we take? Didn't you come here before, miss? Certainly, as a foundation establishment cultivator, he couldn't carry too many arrows, and continuing like this would quickly deplete his stock. I. Jiang Xie paused and calmly said, Forgot. Chen Sansi was momentarily speechless. After shooting his last arrow, he picked up his long spear again to deal with the fierce beasts flying towards him, shouting, Quick! Just find any path for now. The blind woman finally chose the passageway to the left of the center. Chen Sansi followed closely behind. The passage was narrow, making it a lot easier to deal with the pursuing fierce beasts. The beasts seemed to realize this, and after advancing 100 paces, they gradually gave up the chase, and the surroundings suddenly became quiet. Phew! Chen Sansi let out a long breath, adjusting and recovering his breathing. The narrow passage wasn't suitable for using a spear, so he switched to the Dragon Abyss sword, cautiously leading the way. Fortunately, there were no more ancient corpses encountered and no strange traps in the passage. The two of them reached the end unimpeded. Is it here? Chen Sansi asked the blind woman. Jiang Xie said nothing but gently shook her head. Looks like we took the wrong path. Chen Sansi was about to turn back the way they came when he suddenly noticed movement ahead and listened carefully. It seemed like someone was whispering, Is there someone here? He immediately gripped his sword hilt and cautiously moved towards the front. At the corner at the end of the passage there was a stone chamber. Inside the chamber, faint candlelight flickered and the sound of voices could be heard. Damn it! Bai Yujing's people lured the tiger away from the mountain, tricked the other elders into leaving, and actually brought all disciples here to kill. What should we do then? Senior brother sent a message, saying he would cover for us, telling us to take the items and leave. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. No good, they're here. All swords return to the ancestor. Immediately after, came the sounds of battle. Wait! Chen Sansi realized something was wrong. All techniques are forbidden here. How could there be a battle? Furthermore, listening to the conversation, it sounded like Bai Yujing's people, reminiscent of some event during the outbreak of the Nine Nether Forbidden Grounds War. Indeed, when Chen Sansi stopped concealing himself and directly looked into the stone chamber, he found that inside, there were only a few residual souls conversing, and the fighting was mere posturing. It seemed as if two people were trying to leave, only to be ambushed and ultimately killed by Yujing's disciples here. Moreover, these remnant souls kept repeating, Damn it! Bai Yujing's people lured the tiger away, as if they were performing a play, endlessly enacting this scene from their lives. Chen Sansi strode in, and it seemed his presence as a living person disrupted some kind of balance, causing the residual souls in the stone chamber to dissipate into thin air. He was also able to see the full view of the place. The stone chamber was not large, and its setup was simple. The walls were lined with medicine cabinets, with various heavenly materials and earthly treasures labeled on them. In the center, there was an alchemy furnace over a person's height. Unfortunately, without special preservation measures, the heavenly materials and earthly treasures on the medicine cabinets had all dried out over the tens of thousands of years, completely losing their spiritual nature. The alchemy furnace also had a massive crack in the middle, clearly no longer usable. With the thought of not making this trip in vain, Chen Sansi started rummaging through everything, hoping to find something useful. Emperor Heaven does not disappoint those who put in effort. In the end, he found a single jade slip preserved in perfect condition. Inside the jade slip, several ancient pill recipes were recorded, including those that could help improve the realm at various stages of the Foundation establishment, various auxiliary pill recipes, and even recipes for elixirs that could aid martial arts practitioners in golden body condensation. Ancient pill recipe. Chen Sansi quickly browsed through its contents. Not only were there Foundation establishment realm recipes, but even golden body realm ones, all from ancient times. In the cultivation world, ancient pill recipes are rare treasures. Although the refining conditions are more stringent, if one can successfully refine them, the effects will far exceed ordinary elixir pills. If he can refine several types of Foundation establishment stage pills from this, It will greatly benefit the improvement of his cultivation. This was an unexpected reward. Chan Sansi stored the jade scroll in his pouch and found a few heavenly materials and earthly treasures that, although dried, still retained some spiritual properties. From start to finish, the blind woman remained unmoved. She seemed to have a very clear goal and showed no interest in anything else. "Shall we go?" Chun Sansi put away his things. "Let's take another path." The two retraced their steps, confirmed there were no ambushing fierce beasts, returned to the fork in the road, and chose a new path. This way. After hesitating for a moment, the blind woman selected a path adjacent to the original passage. Shortly after, the two emerged empty-handed. Chun Sansi leaned on his long spear, gazing at the blind woman. "This way." Jiang Xie took the lead again. Chun Sansi silently followed. This time they finally found the right place. Following the passage all the way forward, after walking about 500 steps, the surrounding environment opened up, revealing a dojo constructed of white jade stone ahead. In the western corner, where the Taoist was, there was a pool of water. On both sides were soils the color of fiery red maple leaves, growing various spirit plants, all of which were second tier and above. Moreover, their types were very rare. Many were spiritual objects needed to refine foundation establishment pills, while others were heavenly materials and earthly treasures for opening Jingshin. Jingshin fruit, spirit rhinoceros horn, undying grass, the three spirit plants were all present. Chun Sansi roughly estimated that if he took all the spirit plants from here, it would be enough to refine no less than 10 foundation establishment pills and cultivate over a dozen true power warriors. If such a large force were acquired, excluding external golden cores, they would undeniably be a dominant presence in Beiyangdao. Yet among all the spirit plants, the most conspicuous was a crimson lotus flower in the pool, emanating a brilliant red spirit light in the deathly silent dojo. Before this, Chun Sansi had never seen this lotus flower mentioned in any records, so he was unaware of its specific grade and use. "Everything but that one is yours." Jiang Xie's cold voice rang out. "No problem." Chun Sansi understood. It seemed this was the true purpose of her journey. He owed the woman a favor. Helping her was repaying that favor, and without her, he wouldn't have found this place. Therefore, he had no intention to compete for the unknown spirit plant. However, to reach the side of the pool, they must pass through the dojo, and in the center of the dojo, one person was sitting cross-legged on a mat. From his appearance, this person was in his 60s, with graying temples and wrinkled skin. He was meditating with his eyes closed, forming a hand seal. In front of him were numerous scattered corpses. Among the corpses were both martial and magic cultivators, most unable to withstand the Golden Core realm, yet all died from direct sword soldier injuries. The surfaces of these corpses, as well as the elderly man's body, bore the signs of corpse puppet demon vine, indicating they were all dead and parasitized. Buzz! Every few breaths, a spirit light would flash from the old man's chest, beating like a heart, endlessly. All laws forbidden. Chun Sansi could clearly sense it. The law of all laws forbidden, and even the boundary of the entire forbidden land, were closely linked to whatever was in the old man's chest. It seemed, this old man, tens of thousands of years ago, used some method to lay down this boundary, then activated the all laws forbidden restriction in the cave mansion, slaughtering single-handedly all these high realm cultivators who should have been dominant forces in the cultivation world. This showed the old man was a very strong martial artist, as there were many martial cultivator corpses here. No wonder. Chun Sansi recalled the scenes he'd encountered earlier. No wonder those high realm cultivators' residual souls, one by one, were extremely frightened and fled this place. Such a way of dying was so stifling. Even if you were a divinity transformation cultivator, regardless of your great skills, under the state of all laws forbidden, you could still die at the hands of a bare-handed ordinary person. "Can you beat him?" Jiang Xie suddenly asked. Chun Sansi examined more closely, noticing that embedded in the white jade stone slab on the old man's left side was a shimmering flying sword, while on the right side was a purely metallic long spear, identical to his favored weapon. His chi observation skill was unusable, so he couldn't discern the remaining strength of his opponent. But in the state of all laws forbidden, ultimately it would come down to pure martial arts. He said, "This is why you brought me here, right?" The blind woman was a magic cultivator, her martial arts not exceptional. Coupled with some recent battle scars in the surroundings, it indicated she'd already failed once. Jiang Xie didn't speak, effectively acknowledging it. "All right, I'll give it a try." Chun Sansi, holding a spear in one hand and a sword in the other, cautiously bypassed the ancient corpses and slowly walked forward. Upon stepping within 10 steps, the elder's tightly shut eyes suddenly opened, revealing cloudy and vacant pupils. He rose, drew the long spear and sword, slightly lowering his body, the spear across his waist, sword raised overhead, assuming a martial stance. He didn't act rashly, opting instead to wait quietly. "It feels like a challenge in the arena." Chun Sansi also raised his long spear, gripped his long sword, and assumed his starting stance. At the moment he was ready, the elder finally made his move, unhurriedly. Clang! In Chun Sansi's eyes, the speed at which the opponent struck was clearly not fast, yet it seemed to fill his entire vision, caught unawares. Clang! He used Dragon Abyss to deflect and bounce off the gun blade while sprinting towards the opponent with the long and bright silver spear aimed directly at the heavenly spirit. The elder raised his sword to block the gun blade, then retreated his body, immediately sweeping with the long spear like a dragon, broadly and grandly, sweeping in all directions. Chun Sansi faced it fearlessly, manipulating the long spear and sword. The weapons clashed continuously, and within the field, the sound of ding-ding clang-clang of metal striking filled the space, with sparks flying everywhere, as splendid as the fireworks on the streets during festivities. The two fell into a fierce battle. Jiang Xie watched from the side, while also dealing with other ancient corpses trying to interfere. After approximately a dozen rounds, neither side had gained the upper hand. "Great skills," Chun Sansi genuinely praised. The ancient corpse before him surprisingly retained all its martial arts from its lifetime. Whether it was spear technique or swordsmanship, it was performed at an exceptional level, not inferior to his own, even stronger in some aspects. Chun Sansi had to go all out. Any carelessness could result in a life-threatening situation. His spear technique and swordsmanship allowed for ambidextrous fighting, complementing each other with both advance and retreat, offense and defense. However, the elder's spear technique and swordsmanship were completely integrated into one, forming a unified cultivation technique, inherently designed to use both long spear and sword weapons. Between the two of them, it was evenly matched. But what made Chun Sansi slightly uneasy was that his stamina was constantly depleting. By now, he was drenched in sweat and panting heavily. In a state where all methods were forbidden, his physical attributes and even chi blood were all diminished, reducing his body's strength to what it was when he first joined the army. And the elder was a corpse. He inherently wouldn't feel fatigue. This was a significant advantage. Clang, clang, clang. After another round of exchange, Chun Sansi's sweat soaked through his white robe. His hands holding the heavy weapons were slightly numb, and even his legs were trembling. The elder opposite, however, remained as vigorous as ever. "If it's not working, then leave." Jiang Xie was also feeling the strain dealing with the increasing number of ancient corpses. "Let me try again." Chun Sansi did not want to give up just like that. Having lost various chi blood and true power, the corresponding buffs naturally didn't exist, making him very unadapted. But for martial arts practitioners, the strongest power always came from deep within, the martial arts mindset belonging to oneself. He was no exception. In military campaigns, there could be advance and retreat, with the wisdom that victory and defeat are common in military affairs, but not in martial duels. In the arena, it was always about determining superiority and also life and death. Boom! The elder delivered a sweeping strike, with the long spear in his hand, akin to a siege giant hammer, crashing down with overwhelming power. Chun Sansi crossed his long spear and sword blade to block, but even so, His body kept retreating under the terrifying impact, until he crashed heavily against the massive stone pillar of the field. Since reaching mastery in his cultivation, it was his first time experiencing such heart-wrenching pain brought by physical fragility. From the collision, Chun Sansi felt as if his backbones were all shattered, his internal organs continuously trembling. A heat surged in his chest, almost causing him to spit out blood. Without even a moment to catch his breath, the elder's swift long spear was already in front of him again, the fierce wind stinging his cheeks. Boom! Chun Sansi barely dodged. At his previous position, a bowl-sized hole was fiercely poked. He braced through the excruciating pain, with hands trembling uncontrollably from exhaustion. He raised his spear dragon abyss to face the storm-like attacks. 30 rounds had already passed. Even the Chilin's heart had not taken effect. Such a thorough banning of all methods. Stepping into this place, everyone becomes mortal. Boom! The elder's sword edge smashed down from above once more. This time, because Chun Sansi's chi power faltered, he couldn't completely block it. As a result, a deep sword mark was left on his arm during the elder's sword withdrawal, with blood gushing out, quickly dyeing the entire arm red. Jiang Xia's figure appeared silently, but her martial arts were not proficient enough, and she was not even a match for 3 unions. She retreated over a dozen steps, leaving her full of openings, seemingly on the brink of life-threatening danger. Clang! The long Dan bright silver spear timely blocked in front of her. There's no need for you here. Go stop the ancient corpse. Chun Sansi looked behind him. At this moment, most of the ancient corpses inside the underground palace had already been drawn over, estimated at no less than 200, almost blocking every exit. Unknowingly, they had already run out of retreat. If they don't defeat the elder, it's absolutely impossible to escape alive. All right. Jiang Xia didn't waste words. Her martial arts might not suffice against the elder, but dealing with the rest of the ancient corpses was more than enough. Huff! Chun Sansi hefted the long spear, feeling as heavy as a mountain. His throat dry and tasting of iron, and breathing increasingly difficult. The tireless elder attacked again. The long spear whirling, sword light weaving, its sharpness aggressive. I won't lose. Chun Sansi gasped heavily, the pain in his body evoking memories of when he first learned martial arts. Once upon a time, he had to cross mountains and rivers, journeying dozens of miles, feet chafed till raw, just to earn a meal. Once upon a time, he had to swallow raw and hard-to-eat exotic beast innards to replenish some chi blood. Once upon a time, he had to stay awake all night, practicing every move and stance, never stopping even when his body reached its limits, just to seize his opportunity in the chaotic world. Again and again, nearly breaking bones, again and again, organs nearly bursting, times when exhaustion was like fainting, all were genuine. If merely because all methods are forbidden, Chun Sansi were to falter and lose to a corpse, then all his years of martial practice would have gone to the dogs. A flame began to burn in his chest, numbing the pain in his body completely, with only life and death combat left in his heart, and only the approaching weapon remaining in front of him. Nothing else mattered. Bang! Chun Sansi's eyes were blood red, veins bulging all over his body. His face twisted fiercely, entering a frenzied state as he battled with the ancient corpse again. Such fine spear technique, such fine swordsmanship, but I have studied hundreds, thousands of weapon skills. Even without the Chilin's heart, how could I not see through you? Familiar. Every move is familiar. All martial arts under heaven, in the end, converge into the same path. This move, I have seen before. This move, I have used before. With the elder continuously making moves, countless secret skill books began to surface in Chun Sansi's mind. At this moment, he finally saw through the opponent's techniques. Clang! With no retreat left, Chun Sansi suddenly stopped in his tracks, horizontally blocking the opponent's blade with the long spear, then launching a counterattack, completely reversing the offensive and defensive positions. It's a pity the elder had only remnants of flesh and martial arts. without his own mind and consciousness. Otherwise, he would have surely been astonished that his life's work as a martial cultivator from the lower realm, which once ranked highly, had been deciphered and learned by a young man in such a short time. Simply dual-wielding isn't enough, and merely gun and sword combined skill isn't enough either. Both have flaws, but if they were to merge and innovate into a new path, that would be truly unrivaled in the world. I call it extreme divine skills. What Chun Sansi held in his hands seemed no longer to be mere weapons, no longer confined to simple spear technique or swordsmanship, but rather martial arts. What he held in his hands was the epitome of martial arts. Finally, the ancient corpse's moves were no longer impeccable. Each move and strike were under Chun Sansi's suppression, until a fleeting flaw appeared under the high pressure, which he precisely seized. The long Dan bright silver spear whistled forward, piercing through the opponent's heart. The long Dan bright silver spear pierced into the ancient corpse's dry heart, emitting a dull sound. Chun Sansi rotated the long staff, the gun blade stirring within the ancient corpse's body, grinding the heart to dust while simultaneously destroying the roots of the corpse puppet demon vine within. With the death of the corpse puppet demon vine, the elder became like a puppet whose strings had been cut, limbs and head drooping powerlessly before toppling straight to the ground, silent forevermore. At the same time, the utterly exhausted Chun Sansi could no longer support himself, collapsing to his knees with a loud crash, gasping heavily for air. If not for comprehending a hint of the martial arts truth at the critical moment, he would have faced great trouble this time. Extreme divine power. To put it simply, it means that regardless of what weapon one holds, one is not constrained by the weapon itself but instead grasps the Tao within it, truly achieving unity of person and weapon, freely wielding moves that represent the pinnacle of skill. This time, even if there's no other gain, just the extreme divine power alone makes it worthwhile. Before this, dealing with mid-stage foundation establishment cultivators took back-and-forth battles for quite some time. After this, his combat power will certainly elevate, making future confrontations significantly easier. Clang! After resting briefly and regaining some strength, Chun Sansi once again grasped his weapon, charging into another crowd of ancient corpses. With martial arts unfolding, there were no longer any flaws, each move and strike brimming with the essence of martial arts. Moreover, these ancient corpses were far inferior to the elder, making them as easy to handle as slicing melons and vegetables. In less than the time it takes to burn half a stick of incense, over 200 ancient corpses were completely dealt with, their bodies piling up into a small mountain beneath his feet. After severing the last ancient corpse's head, Chun Sansi slumped to the ground. His body strained beyond limits as pain from tearing meridians, bones, and even flesh erupted, until he lost all sensation and could only lay there slowly recovering. The female seer's condition was not much better. The body of someone with magic cultivation relies on spiritual energy transformation. After cultivation diminishes, the flesh becomes even frilier, unable to withstand high-intensity combat. The female seer showed little outward reaction, merely gently placing down the ice soul sword, leaning against a stone pillar and sitting cross-legged, quietly meditating. When the two recovered enough to move, it was already a stick of incense later. Chun Sansi used his long spear as a crutch, limping toward the elder's remains. Jiang Xia, holding her long sword, had to stop to rest every few steps, moving slowly toward the red lotus in the pool, bending down to carefully pick it. Buzz, buzz. The elder's chest, beneath his clothing, continued to emit spirit light, like a blue heart pulsating. As Chun Sansi was about to reach it, with a clatter, a silver token fell from the waist of the corpse. The 3 words engraved on it were clear to see. Guardian. Another guardian. It seems that the so-called guardian most likely originates from the Luo Shao sect. Just as Chun Sansi was about to reach out for the silver token, a pale blue light surged from it, causing him to swiftly retreat, raising both his weapons. After hovering mid-air, the blue light gradually condensed into a human figure, looking exactly like the ancient corpse. Residual soul. The elder looked around bewilderedly, eyes filled with ancient memories, like a traveler returning home, finding everything simultaneously familiar and strange. After surveying his surroundings, his gaze finally fell on the young man before him. Rumble! The cave mansion shook violently without warning, as if the law was loosening, while simultaneously releasing waves of terrifying pressure from the elder. This is bad. The residual soul is not just an obsession, he also has his own emotions and consciousness. Most critically, he seems to possess a slight trace of mana. The elder's large hands descended from above, aiming at the young man's heavenly spirit. Chun Sansi instinctively brandished the Dragon Abyss sword, the blade piercing through the residual soul's visage but only making it wobble slightly, unable to cause any substantial harm, as if striking smoke. The palms descended upon his head, an icy chill swept over. He wanted to evade but was shocked to find his legs frozen in place. "Predecessor, please wait!" Chun Sansi shouted loudly, raising the guardian's wooden token above him. Seeing the token, the elder's expression faltered, his hand pausing mid-air, no longer continuing its descent. "This token," his ancient, hoarse voice echoed as though from ages past, directly entering the mind. "Is it yours?" "It is mine." Chun Sansi, fully mobile, retreated several steps, saying, "Predecessor, I meant no offense, but your body was parasitized by the corpse puppet demon vine. I had no choice but to destroy it." Corpse puppet demon vine. The elder looked down, recalling something. "So, did I lose to you?" "Yes," Chun Sansi replied humbly. "I barely managed to defeat the remnants of the predecessor's body. Though just a carcass under the parasitism of the high-level demon vine, the martial arts remained at its peak. It's remarkable for someone so young to defeat me." The elder looked impressed, then repeated his earlier question. "Where did the token come from?" "It's mine." "Impossible." The residual soul lightly shook its head. "There is no guardian as young as you." "General Guardian?" Chun Sansi was puzzled. Could it be that this wooden token status is higher than the silver and copper plates? He explained, "The token was passed down by my master, Sun Xiangzong. Do you know of him, senior?" "Never heard of him. Probably some junior." The elder's soul body became more ethereal, and his voice weakened slightly. After a moment of pause, he asked, "What year is it now?" "Spirit Immortal Era? Year 225,000. 2673. Chun Sansi answered truthfully. "This year is calculated from after the collapse of the Ancestor Vein in the ancient Great War and the re-establishment of the Basic Order." "Spirit Immortal Era?" The elder listened to the unfamiliar words and sighed. "It seems that a long time has passed. How is our Luo Shao sect? How is Bai Yujing?" "Senior," Chun Sansi informed, "the sects you mentioned have long ceased to exist. All gone." The elder's soul became even more ethereal. "If you're curious, senior," Chun Sansi said, "I can tell you about all the major events of the past 200,000 years without holding back." "There's no time." The elder spoke as parts of the cave mansion began to collapse, with gravel and stones sizzling down from above. He spoke in a deep voice. "Young man, tell me, what do you want from this old man quickly? I am but a remnant soul sealed in a decayed body, with consciousness but no origin, and I cannot hold on for long." Earlier, the wandering souls continuously repeating their obsessions weren't actually themselves from when they were alive. They had turned into evil spirits over the long years, thus they could remain preserved. Initially, Chun Sansi was only indebted to the blind woman and planned to help retrieve treasures, but unexpectedly he gained a lot. He didn't hesitate. "How did Senior achieve all things forbidden?" "Ha ha! Good lad. What boldness! Coming straight to learn all things forbidden." The elder chuckled softly twice. "This old man cannot either. All things forbidden is a law personally refined by the upper realm sect master, and this old man merely used a method to activate it." "Luo Shao sect master?" Chun Sansi inquired. "Do you recognize Mr. Mei Shao, senior?" "Could it be?" The Mr. May who passed all things forbidden power to him came from tens of thousands of years ago. May what? The elder denied again. Don't know him. Chan Sansi thought for a moment, seeing the elder's soul dispersing more and more, already posing no threat. So he took out the Xianzhu and held it in his hand. Is this the law you spoke of, senior? Indeed. The elder was surprised. You just said that this law was given to you by someone named Mei Xiao? In this world, is there actually a second person besides the sect master who can master this law? Young man, where is this person now? I don't know. Chun Sansi said. Mr. Mei came and went without leaving a trace, and after leaving the law a dozen years ago, I never saw him again. To this day, I still don't know how to use this power. The elder pondered for a moment, then said, Fetch the item in my embrace. Well, please forgive my intrusion, senior. Chan Sansi didn't understand things like Luo Xiao sect or guardian, and since the remnant soul had previously displayed mana, he naturally couldn't fully trust the other party. So, he didn't touch directly, fearing that the other party was a legendary ghost cultivator who knew some body-seizing technique, as one must always be wary of others. Thus, he used the blade of the dragon abyss sword to cut open the robe and lifted the item within that was always glowing like a heart. Then he saw, it was a spiritual pearl, identical to the spiritual pearl within Skywall City, except the spiritual energy inside it was for some reason already nearing depletion. Don't you want to know how to use the law of all things forbidden? I'll tell you. The elder spoke with eloquence. Between heaven and earth, any formation or law activation requires the consumption of spiritual power, and a supreme law like all things forbidden consumes even more. Therefore, to activate the forbidden technique's law, spirit stones are far from sufficient. It requires destroying the spirit vein as a price. The best method is to refine the destructive spirit array, or sealing spirit array, storing them within spiritual pearls, as the source of spiritual power. The strength and duration of the forbidden technique are determined by the richness of spiritual energy within the spiritual pearls. The duration is determined by the richness of spiritual energy. Chin Sansi suddenly thought, in this case, isn't the pervasive prohibition here lasting hundreds of thousands of years? Not that long. The elder seemed to see through his thoughts. Only when the cave mansion is damaged or when outsiders appear will the forbidden technique automatically activate. At other times, it is a great array that suppresses cultivation. But even so, it has reached its limit. The spiritual energy within the spiritual pearl is about to be completely exhausted, and this land is about to collapse entirely, then swept into the void, no longer existing. Booming! As they spoke, large chunks of rock began to peel off above their heads. Chin Sansi speculated. The reason for the appearance of the dual forbidden land this time in the netherworld should be related to this. Senior, he asked for guidance. How to refine the destructive spirit array and sealing spirit array. You don't know? The elder's residual soul was continuously dissipating, and his lower body was already completely blurry. He urged, Then quickly take paper and pen and I will speak while you write. All right, thank you, senior. Chun Sansi was delighted in his heart. He naturally remembered when his master in Nanling Town used the destructive spirit array to destroy the ancestor vein to prevent the collapse of the heaven and earth seal. Thinking back, his master's destructive spirit array was probably obtained ready-made. Otherwise, he would have taught him the method of refining. If he could learn it, the troubles of the eastern continent would be much easier to solve. In the future, if there's no other way, he would emulate his master and directly destroy the Mang Mountain ancestor vein. All in all, until Chun Sansi reaches the peak of his cultivation, there's absolutely no chance for the heavenly water sect to have even a bit of influence on the eastern continent. Without pens and ink on him, he retrieved talisman pen and talisman paper from his storage bag to use instead. Given the urgent situation, this small waste was negligible. The elder has time to speak only once and will include some ancient resonances. Listen carefully, even a single misstroke could result in failing to refine the formation. After the elder's reminder, he began a detailed description. A residual soul without mana cannot touch anything physical. Therefore, he had to speak orally, especially some obscure and hard-to-understand diagrams. Ultimately, the elder had to accelerate his vanishing as a price to help draw a few crucial rune diagrams. It's done. The elder's voice became weaker. Almost only a recognizable face remained, visibly about to disperse. Sustaining the universal prohibition spiritual pearl was also on the verge of extinguishing. The restrictions within the cave mansion began to loosen, and Chun Sansi could feel his realm returning to Qi refining realm. Thank you, Senior. Chun Sansi secured the drawing, somewhat curiously asking, Senior agreed to teach due to the Guardian's wooden token? Aren't you afraid I might lie? What's there to fear? The elder replied indifferently. It matters not to me whether you are one of us, but the sealing spirit array needs to be passed on. Only when it can be passed on wouldn't the pearl be wasted, wouldn't you say? Chun Sansi neither agreed nor disagreed. It's time to leave. The blind woman returned after picking the red lotus, still speaking sparingly. This girl. The elder squinted at the woman. Not simple. Her. Chun Sansi had no time to pay attention to the blind woman with many questions in his heart. About Luoshao sect, Guardian, and more. What a pity, not enough time. Else, I'd love to go out and see. How is the Great Way doing now? The elder, with only a wisp of thread-like residual soul left, made the final reminder. Boy, someone has come outside. As the words fell, his soul shattered completely. The soul flies away and scatters, leaving no trace. If not for the ancient corpse remains on the ground, it was as if the old man never existed. Someone's coming? Chun Sanshi frowned. He thought of the other sect disciples, having delayed so long. It's indeed possible for people from Spirit Silence Cave and Shengyun sect to search here. Boom! The intense tremors and collapsing stone pillars snapped Chun Sanshi back to reality. He immediately took out his storage bag and began picking spirit plants in the cave mansion. So many good things cannot be wasted. As the collapse began, the law of complete prohibition of magic became increasingly relaxed, and Chun Sanshi's cultivation gradually recovered to the late stage of Qi refining. But at the same time, it also meant that those approaching this place would similarly gradually be unaffected. If it was simply people from Spirit Silence Cave and Shengyun sect coming, Chun Sanshi was confident he could leave easily. The worry was that Wang Jun, who escaped earlier, might report to the outside. Having stayed within the boundary for several days, it meant the time was entirely sufficient for more cultivators to enter the forbidden ground. Inside the second forbidden ground, the evil path must be eradicated. The evil path must be eradicated. Guiyuan sect inner sect steward Jai Rue led several foundation establishment late-stage cultivators and numerous sect disciples, swiftly rushing towards the depths of the forbidden ground following the direction of the anomalies. Several days ago, they received news of an incident within the forbidden ground. After arriving, they saw all the Guiyuan sect disciples who came to participate in the forbidden ground trial had died, leaving only headless corpses, not a single survivor. This was clearly a premeditated ambush. Shortly after entering the collapsing boundary, everyone saw a second batch of corpses. Unexpectedly, they were the disciples of Spirit Silence Cave, all similarly tragically slain. Which evil demon sect is responsible? Guiyuan sect inner sect steward Wei Rue squinted. 7 kill sect? Demon slaying sect? Or has the eastern continent been active in Beiyang? He was hastily summoned to Beiyang after receiving voice transmission messages in the nearby region. Simply insane. Zhang Jincheng looked at the corpses on the ground, his expression growing increasingly icy. After separating from the people from Guiyuan sect and Spirit Silence Cave, he waited to meet as originally agreed, yet not a single figure appeared. The token fragments were held individually without everyone there. Even if they found the exit transmission array, they couldn't leave. While struggling with this, the boundary was inexplicably destroyed, and then it was known there was an incident. Guiyuan sect and Spirit Silence Cave disciples all killed. Their fellow Wang Jun escaped from the forbidden ground but was also injured and in a coma. Boom! The thunderous sounds of the world collapsing grew deafening as a Guiyuan sect cultivator flew back sword in hand from afar. He urgently reported, "Brothers, not far from here, there's a cave heaven-blessed land. Once close your cultivation is weakened, and there are obvious signs of battle. The boundary nearby has long since been sealed. It's likely demons are lurking within. Move out." Wei Rui waved his hand. "Immediately go to the cave heaven-blessed land. No matter which demon, not one must be allowed to escape." Recently arrived in Beiyang were 5 or 6 Foundation establishment late-stage cultivators, leading hundreds of cultivators, encircling towards the Guardian's cave mansion direction. Inside the cave mansion, having gathered all the spirit plants, the cave mansion began a large-scale collapse. Luckily, after the law's collapse, they all recovered parts of their strength, not dying beneath the falling boulders. Boom! Chan Sancher cut down the giant rock in front of him with a sword and quickened his pace to catch up with the female blind person ahead. Speaking, "Miss Jiang, I have something to give you," he said, taking out the relic left by his senior brother, a magic artifact jade flute made entirely of jade, and handed it to her. Jiang Xie, blindfolded, seemed unaffected in sensing and observing everything around her. "For me?" "Yes," Chan Sancher said. "This was given to me by my 4th senior brother Fang Qingyun to pass to you." "Don't know," Jiang Xie said calmly. "Don't know?" Chan Sancher was stunned for a moment and explained. "Senior brother said to give it to Qingshu sect's Jiang Xianzi? Are you not her then? There are more people with the surname Jiang than just me." Jiang Xie returned the item and continued carrying the ice soul sword forward. Chan Sancher felt somewhat helpless. Senior brother truly only said to find Jiang Xianzi, without specifying which Jiang Xianzi. Thinking back, the female cultivator in senior brother's heart truly seemed like a fairy. Chan Sancher caught up with the female blind person, put away the jade flute, and then took out half a jade pendant. "Miss Jiang, do you recognize this item? Qingshu sect, Master Yu Ling. This name must be correct." And the female blind person claimed to be Master Yu Ling's disciple. Perhaps she knows something. Jiang Xie visibly paused when sensing the jade pendant, but after a moment of silence, she still said, "Don't know." "Also don't know?" Chan Sancher put away the jade pendant. "Could you please help, Miss Jiang? When you return to Qingshu sect later, could you pass a message to your Master Yu Ling that the junior would like to ask your sect for help? Go yourself." Without more law suppression, a certain spiritual power within Jiang Xie seemed activated, and the area within several feet became extremely icy. Changed faces so quickly. Chan Sancher gently shook his head. Clearly, not long before they were life and death allies. Yet, after taking the treasure, became strangers. But it was a matter of interest exchange. There was no need to blame others. The blame lay solely on himself for mistaking the other as a mature person. It seems Qingshu sect is still a place he must visit on his own one day. Putting away various thoughts, Chan Sancher lifted his head and found they had returned the way they came, arriving at the exit where most of the Guardian's cave mansion had collapsed. Outside was the vast world, accompanied by intense anomalies. The entire Forbidden Land was in complete chaos. There really are people. Chan Sansi stared upwards and saw a swarm of cultivators emerging from the clouds not far away, heading straight in his direction. The leading cultivator moved through the air at an incredible speed, either a late Foundation establishment cultivator or someone practicing a secret technique. If it's the former, with so many late Foundation establishment cultivators coming, things might indeed become very troublesome. What worried Chan Sansi the most was whether the self-destruction of the Forbidden Land would lift the suppression law that prevented Golden Core cultivators from entering. If that happened, once he exposed his identity, Shuzhongzi stationed at the main peak of days would likely rush over. He could only try to break through forcefully using Xiaofeng's identity and power. "Miss Jiang, please wait. I'll set up a few formations here to delay them, and then we can each find an opportunity to leave this place." Chan Sansi took out a pre-prepared array plate and was about to start arranging the formation, only to see the blind woman fearlessly ready to face the cultivators head-on. "Go!" Jiang Xie spoke the words lightly and then stepped on the ice soul sword, gliding through the air, disappearing abruptly and leaving behind a trail of frost. Chun Sansi had spent quite a while in the cave mansion, where all skills were forbidden, and had almost forgotten that the blind woman's level was higher than his. But, no matter how strong, she was just at foundation establishment perfection. Could she really handle so many cultivators of the same level alone without any trouble? Forget it. It's none of his business anyway. Thinking this, Chun Sansi took the chance to escape in a certain direction through the air. Boom! At the same time, the sounds of intense fighting came from behind. Chun Sansi looked back and saw that most of the heavenly dome had turned into frost. Apart from that, he couldn't see anything more clearly. He stopped watching and performed the wind-splitting seal, increasing his speed through the air. Half an incense stick later, he had left those people far behind, overlooking from above. At this moment, the 9 nether forbidden land was destructing at a speed visible to the naked eye, mountains collapsing, and murky rivers flowing through cracks in the earth until they dried up. Crack! Thunder resounded overhead, and the heavenly dome appeared like a torn curtain with large patches of holes, with bolts of lightning continuously crashing down, each containing the power of laws. Chun Sansi dared not resist and immediately descended, flying with his sword almost at ground level, wanting to leave this place as quickly as possible. After today, this world might no longer have the 9 nether forbidden land. The cultivators still inside the forbidden land obviously realized this too, which is why they entered a frenzy, beginning their final plundering. Among them were some cultivators who had gained little from this trip and simply transformed into robbery cultivators, robbing others of their gains. For a time, this ancient battlefield once again turned into a place of corpses and rivers of blood. Taoist, where do you think you're going? Before he had traveled 20 miles, a foundation establishment cultivator without eyes blocked his path. Chun Sansi summoned the Shenyuan sword, and the water element true power surged as he flashed and severed his opponent's head. This fellow sure didn't hold back on stealing stuff. He opened the other storage bag and, after a brief look, found enough spiritual objects inside to refine a foundation establishment pill. Shao, Taoist. Chun Sansi was about to leave when he suddenly heard someone calling him. He looked around using the Qi observation skill and saw someone hiding inside the hollow of an old willow tree ahead. Who is it? It's me, Mr. Shao. The familiar voice brought a quick realization to Chun Sansi. Mr. Mo Zhu, what is this? Cough, cough. Mo Zhu's weak voice came from the tree hollow. Mr. Shao, can you come in to talk? Sure. After thoroughly checking and ensuring there was no ambush, Chun Sansi cautiously approached the cave entrance, bent down and saw the scene inside. Mo Zhu lay on the ground, covered in blood, with a concealing talisman exhausted of spiritual power stuck to him and holding a weathered wine gourd, casting weak glances at him. Did Mr. Mo encounter robbery cultivators? Chun Sansi spoke as he began to search for healing elixir pills on his body. It's no use. No need for you to waste resources. Cough, cough. Mo Zhu spat out congealed blood and, after calming down for a while, continued. The old man called you back. It's to ask for a favor. Go on. Chun Sansi said patiently. Cough, cough, cough. Mo Zhu mustered all his strength and took out a storage bag from his bosom. There are some items in here. I wish to entrust them to you. Items? After Chun Sansi received it, he used his divine sense to explore the items inside, discovering talismans, spirit stones, spirit plants, and a set of inheritance, the true talisman manual. Talisman inheritance. His proficiency in talismans had already broken through to the 2nd tier, but he had never found a suitable follow-up inheritance. Moreover, the talismans drawn by old Mo Zhu were quite useful. For example, the earth-tunneling talisman in his hands was certainly extraordinary. This inheritance was obtained by this old man when I was young on an adventure. It contains various talismans from the 1st to 4th ranks. If you can find the follow-up inheritance, it said, It said that you can still acquire divine skills. I was simply too foolish, up to the point of death. I couldn't learn many talismans. In my hands, this is really a waste. Mo Zhu, unable to speak many words, would pause to catch his breath for a while. Today, I entrust them all to you, Mr. Mo. Chun Sansi said, just say it. What do you want me to do? Hee. There's no fooling Taoist Xiao. Mo Zhu said with a bitter smile. The reason I came to the forbidden area was actually to earn some more spirit stones to send my grandson to the inner sect of the upper sect for cultivation. As a result, I ended up like this, probably unable to return. Therefore, I entrust my belongings to Taoist Xiao, just hoping that after you learn them, in the future you can teach my grandson, and maybe, best of all, protect him a little. Chin Sansi recalled. A long time ago, he saw Mo Zhu risking his life to hunt, and the latter had said it was to save up spirit stones for his grandson. Unexpectedly, he fell on the path of protecting the next generation. It seemed that entrusting the items to him was an act of helplessness. After all, once dead here, the items would either fall into the hands of strangers or be forever buried with the forbidden land. And Xiao Feng at least had some connection with him. By gifting voluntarily, perhaps a portion might be left for his grandson. I agree. Chun Sansi did not refuse. Thank you, Taoist Xiao. The old man can die without regret. Mo Zhu, having finally fulfilled his last wish, opened the wine gourd wanting to take one last sip, but as soon as it reached his mouth, his arm dropped lifelessly with no more breath. Only the clear wine flowed gently from the mouth of the gourd. Farewell, Taoist. Chun Sansi took a storage bag that held spiritual beasts and carefully stored Mo Zhu's body in it, then continued on his way straight towards the exit of the forbidden area. At the location of the transmission array at the exit, there were a large number of cultivators guarding it, including members from various sects, the Beiyang Dao family, and the Demon Suppression Department. Obviously, the incident of slaughtering Guiyuan sect disciples had caused quite a stir. Every cultivator wanting to leave needed to go through layers of investigations, and many cultivators whose backgrounds were unclear were detained. Chun Sansi remembered that there were other exits in the second forbidden area, but considering the current situation, it was very likely they had collapsed. So he disguised himself as Mo Zhu, successfully passing through. Rumble. The collapse of the forbidden area continued. This time, the Guiyuan sect disciples did not kill key figures. Chun Sansi calculated in his heart. One is Huang Laojiu, the other is Chao Ji. Both are the same kind of people from those days. Sooner or later they will have to be dealt with. Let's leave Huang Laojiu aside for now. However, that boy Chao Ji seemed lucky not to have come with Cui Jichen this time, allowing him to live a few more days. Heavenly Sword Sect. Chao Daoyu, the elder commands you to wait here. The disciple of the Heavenly Sword Sect gave this instruction and then flew away on an immortal crane. Once King Yen, now Guiyuan sect disciple Chao Ji, had changed from his previous carefree demeanor, standing respectfully before the stone gate, because he was to meet with his elder. Surname Chao, given name Xie. Chao Xie.